The story starts in a high school classroom where 4 students are sitting. 3 of them are busy chatting while one student named Park Han-jun is sitting alone. Someone enters the class and Han-jun looks at him. It is Choi Sejang. He asks others if they are going to refuse to welcome him. Those 3 greet him nicely. The blonde girl asks him if he has sold much of the new chapter. He says of course and shows them the record sale of 48 million won. His friends show excitement over his achievement and ask him for a treat this weekend. Choi Sejang looks at Park Han-jun and says he has something important to do before this. He grabs Han-jun's head and smashes it against the desk. He asks him how he dares to ignore him. He asks if Han-jun has bought the new chapter he has uploaded. While asking this, he keeps beating him. He thinks Han-jun wants his business to flop. Han-jun does not reply and keeps bearing this brutality. Sejang looks at his face and says even an animal would understand what he is saying by now. The blonde girl asks what Sejang will do if Han-jun goes to the teacher and complains about him. Han-jun replies he has given enough money to the teacher to be on their side. He punches Han-jun and says there will be a bloodbath if the teacher acts up. After beating him this much, he looks at Han-jun's face. He gives Sejang a scary look. Sejang asks him if he wants to have a go at him. He keeps irritating Han-jun to make him angry. He tells him that if he reports him, he is confident in seeking damage compensation from him. But he is poor now as he acted cheeky towards Cheon-soo Kim and got his life screwed up. He does not have anything to pay again for compensation. While getting beaten, he thinks about the incident that happened 2 years ago. A high school gang grew up all over the country. They called it Nexus. All the gang members had a ring with an X written on it. Han-jun started a war with their head Kim Chun-soo. Right when he thought he had won the war, Nexus filed a lawsuit against him. Their consistent lies manipulated and fabricated the situation and evidence. Because of that, Han-jun lost the case. And his father's gym, which he gave his whole life, had to be sold to pay for the settlement money. After that, Han-jun promised himself that he would never fight again. He apologized to his father while crying. His father consoled him and said he should not be crying. Han-jun is walking on the street when 3 boys pass nearby him. One of them recognizes him and tells others about him. The buffed one among them acts cheeky and comes near him. He calls him and asks if he recognizes that ring in his hand. After a while, they take him to an empty street in Beaconwell. That buffed guy calls him useless and weak. He wonders how a weakling like him could fight Nexus. He talks badly about his father as well. Hearing this, Han-jun grabs his leg and gives him a scary look. That buffed guy looks shocked. Han-jun apologizes to him immediately for his recent behavior. The buff guy wonders how he could get intimidated by Han-jun when he glared at him. He feels pathetic and picks a stick. He starts beating him with it and asks why he wriggled. That guy breaks any sticks while beating him with them. They leave him there after getting satisfied and walk away. Right then, a well-suited stranger stops by him. He sits near him and asks why Han-jun is bearing all this. Suppose he is afraid that he will have to pay again. He tells him he should leave him half paralyzed for beating him like this. He asks if Han-jun is worried about the money for lawsuits and if he can pay for him. He opens a bag and bundles of notes fall out of it. He tells Han-jun he can get a decent law firm with that much money. But if does not want to file a lawsuit, he can beat them up and use that money to compensate for the damage. He asks how long it will take him to take them down. Han-jun asks him who he is. That guy replies he is someone who wants to beat up Cheon-soo Kim. He says he can tell them the details, but too many people are listening. That buff guy looks at that money and gets amazed. He says he wouldn't have beaten him if Han-jun had already told him he had this much money. Han-jun hits him with his elbow and breaks his jaw. That buff guy falls unconscious and hits the ground. Han-jun says it will take him 4 seconds to beat them. The other 2 get terrified and ask him to stop as they did not beat him earlier. But he beats the crap out of them. He says no one is listening anymore, so that guy should tell him about his motives. He takes him into his office and asks if Han-jun does not watch the news. He opens his profile on his phone and shows it to him. He's Oh Jung-woo, Korea's youngest successful CEO. He says he can use millions of wons to blow his nose. He asks Han-jun if and knows what kind of life Cheon-soo Kim is living. The article's headline about him is a popular student because he lives an upright life and has both exceptional looks and abilities. Ho Jun-woo says this is hilarious. While he is still recruiting people and doing gangster stuff behind the scenes, those ruined by him live like vegetables. It is not hard to bury him in the grave within society, but that is not what Oh Jun-woo wants. He wants to use his methods, filthy, petty, and repulsive methods to screw up both his life and mind. He says he will bear all the expenses for ruining Cheon-soo's life and also the money that Han-jun needs to live his life. Han-jun just has to lend his fists to him in return. Han-jun asks him why he hates Cheon-soo Kim. Oh Jun-woo leans forward and says he will know the reason with time. For now, the important thing is that they have a common enemy. Han-jun enters the class when Sejong asks his classmates to buy his new merchandise online. He is a Nexus member and the class is terrified of him. Han-jun goes near him. Sejong asks him why he is staring at him. Suppose he wants to get beaten again. Han-jun says nothing and punches him in the face. The whole class starts looking at them. Han-jun understood the concept that this world is run by money and power. Sejong remembers being unafraid of anything as no one was stronger than him. But then, he met Han-jun. When he saw him fighting, his whole body screamed that he had no chance against him. It was like he was a different breed. He was a wild beast. But that was only until he met Chien-Soo Kim. He screwed Han-jun's life with a lawsuit, took all his money, and brought him to his knees. That's when Sejong realized that the world is ruled by money. Soon he started an online store and forced his classmates to buy his goods. He got rich this way. Han-jun was nothing but a tamed beast. That's how he got back on the top of the food chain. But he wonders why he is getting beaten up now. Han-jun is breaking his bones. Sejong tries to attack back, but Han-jun blocks it. He crushes his foot and breaks his nose with his knee kick. Sejong is wondering what is happening to him all of a sudden. Han-jun is beating him continuously. His friends are terrified seeing him getting beaten like this. The other classmates are happy to see a bully getting bullied by someone. A few are even recording this fight. Sejong feels it humiliating. Han-jun throws him away and he hits the wall. Sejong spits blood on the floor. He asks Han-jun why he is doing this. Han-jun comes close and gazes at him with a scary face. Sejong flinches and asks his friend Joe to help him. Joe looks in that direction. Han-jun passes him an angry look. Joe turns his face away and understands that he cannot do anything. Sejong grins by looking at his useless friend. He brings out his mobile and starts making a video. He warns Han-jun that he has no money left. This time he would not be able to save himself from the lawsuit. Han-jun kicks in his face. The sole of his shoe prints on Sejong's face and his nose bleeds. His face keeps getting hit by kicks. He thinks he might die if he keeps getting hit at this rate, so he runs out of the classroom. Han-jun comes out of the room following him. While running, Sejong tries to calm him down and thinks that Han-jun has not done any fights in the last 2 years, so he will not be able to fight against a gym rat. He enters a room and asks Sung to help him. Sung stops his workout and asks him about what happened to his face. Sejong requests him to save his life. At the same time, Han-jun reaches there. Sejong tells Sung that he will give him 1 million won if he knocks down Han-jun. Sung looks at him and thinks 1 million won is less to beat this beast. He demands 2 million. Sejong agrees. He just wants to save his life right now. Sung goes near Han-jun and says it is not personal but needs money to attend a sports college. Han-jun asks if he wants to go into sports science majors. Sung replies yes. Han-jun gives him money and says he should not be straining his body for this. He asks him to take the money and step off. Sung happily accepts it and says Sejong is all Han-jun's. He throws Sejong out of the class. A teacher passing them sees this and wonders what's happening here. He sees Han-jun coming out of the room and asks what he thinks he is doing in the school. He takes them to his office. He asks Han-jun if he is a street gangster. Why is he beating his classmates so brutally? He reminds him that he gave Han-jun a second chance 2 years ago and saved him from expulsion. But he will not show any mercy this time. Sejong smirks at him, seeing him being scolded by the teacher. Han-jun gets up from his seat and punches Sejong in the face. The teacher is shocked and asks him if he has lost his mind. He grabs him and tries to hold him back. Sejong realizes that it is his end. While Han-jun throws punches at him, a man in a suit enters the room and asks him to stop now. The teacher asks him who he is. Byung-won Kim introduced himself and said he was an associate lawyer at the KR firm. The teacher asks what business he has here. At night, in the office of Jung-woo, Han-jun asks him how he did that. He says his teacher started groveling at him after talking with the lawyer. Sejong got expelled on the spot. Jung-woo says this was very easy for him to do. He tells him that Sejong just paid the price to harass him in the past. The teacher was involved in immoral acts. That lawyer showed him the evidence and his tail was safely tucked between his legs. He says he will not crush that teacher now as having him on their side is necessary to send Sanjang to juvie. Once his work is over, he will also be sent to jail. Jung-woo says he does not pay his taxes to support teachers like him. He asks Han-jun if he enjoys fighting after a long time. Suppose he is thankful to him for what he did for him today. Han-jun replies he kind of thankful. Jung-woo says there is too much left to be done before he gets thanks from him. At his home, Sejong is angry and throwing his things away. He says he will not go down quietly. He decides to kill Han-jun. The following day, he walks on the road wearing a hoodie and stops in front of a 3-story building. The door opens partially and someone from inside asks him who he is. He tells about him and says he is here to check the progress. The door is opened by a boy who excitedly tells him he has come here at the right time as Jinsong is here. Inside the room, some guys are beating a man. Jinsong Huang, the leader of the runaway boys, asks Seijing to come in. The guy getting beaten up calls Seijing names as he is here because of him. Jinsong hits him in the back and asks him to stay quiet. He orders his boys to remove that man from the scene. He asks Seijing why he is here as he never drops by in person. Seijing replies he is here to make a more extensive request. Jinsong asks how big this is. Seijing says he will pay 10 million won for that. The guy in a red shirt says he does not need to hear more. Just say the name of who is annoying Seijing. Jinsong hits that guy with the bat and asks him to stop acting giddy. He suggests he understands the seriousness of the situation. He says the game must be some real humdinger if the client offers this much. He asks who he is. Seijing says it is Han-jun Park. Jinsong instantly asks him to get out of there after hearing the name of Han-jun. He asks if he looks dumb as ordinary means won't do any harm to Han-jun. Seijing says he is offering 10 million up front. If they succeed, it will be 20 million. Jinsong and his boy are stunned to hear the offer. He laughs and locks the deal. The car stops at the front of an abandoned house in the middle of the city. Jianwu enters the house and wears off his shoes at the doorstep. Walking inside, he loses his tie knot and apologizes for not coming too long. He was swamped. He also has brought fried chicken. He sits on the couch and says chicken these days is so small that one might consider it a sparrow. He is talking to someone and says his dad used to make the best fried chicken in the town. Jianwu says he is craving it right now. They had it last time about 2 years ago. Saying this, he becomes sad. It feels like yesterday to him. Then he gets up and walks out, saying he will be busier again and unable to come soon. The last thing he says before leaving is that the things he has been preparing for are finally coming into shape. When he leaves the house, Byung-won tells him that Seijing is making his move. Should he take care of him? Jianwu says Byung-won knows his style. He never makes things simple and clean. Byung-won grins and says as he wishes. Han-jun's father gets a call from a gym to hire him as a trainer. He is surprised to hear about the salary package as well. After disconnecting the call, he pats his son's head and tells him he has a good job. He wonders how things are getting good all of a sudden. Han-jun stands up and says he is going to hit the gym. His father asks him not to be late as they will eat a nice dinner tonight. When he goes downstairs, he gets a call from Jianwu. He warns him about Seijing's making a move. He tells Han-jun that Seijing has hired some high school runaways as mercenaries. He asks him to call them back if they come looking for Han-jun. He replies that there will be no need for that as those guys are already outside his home. Jinsong smirks and tells Han-jun he is happy to see him. Han-jun looks at him and asks him who he is. Meanwhile, a van comes running towards him. That red shirt guy is moving it forward to hit him. Han-jun glares at him. He starts running towards the van instantly. Everyone looks at him shockingly. Han-jun hits the van with his kicks. That guy gets terrified and turns the wheel towards the left. This makes him roll over the van and he falls behind the van. His head hits the road and starts bleeding. Those runaway boys are glad to see him doing self-harm. Their boss tells them that it is his brilliant move. Han-jun gets up and says he is outraged now. All those boys take their position and get ready to beat him. Jinsong thinks Han-jun must have lain low for a while, but he still got his wits and agility about him. Even so, he just got injured. Suddenly, the people of surrounding buildings wake up hearing the noise of an accident and start watching from their windows. Jinsong orders his boys to get in the van and they leave from there. Han-jun runs after them. Those guys see him coming after them and laugh at his nonsense. But their smile changes into a scream when he catches that van. He jumps over the van and breaks the back glass with his punch. He grabs a guy from his shirt and pulls him out of it. They both fall on the road. A guy asks Jinsong what they should do as their fellow has fallen off. He replies to leave him there and move, so they drive away from there leaving their fellow behind. Han-jun asks him where those men have headed to. That guy says he does not know. He grabs him and beats him well. But that guy says he will not tell him, no matter how much he beats him. Han-jun does not hold back either and throws hits at his face. At their apartment, those runaway guys celebrate their work. Jinsong appreciates his boys for their excellent work. Seijing looks disappointed. He slams the glass at the table. He asks Jinsong why they celebrate when he and his men cannot catch him. He says they all should do the money's worth before reveling. He asks what they will do if Han-jun comes there. All those boys start looking at each other's faces for the answer. Jinsong says he can understand what Seijing is trying to say, but Han-jun must be very smart to find them first. He puts his arm on his shoulder and says such feedback doesn't stoke his zest for work. He grabs his glass and tells him that there is a Korean saying, "You do not use a poultry knife to hunt a boar." He breaks his glass and say they are hunting a tiger now. He brings a piece of that broken glass near his face and says there is no knife to hunt a tiger. But that's how their ancestors hunt the tiger, by unleashing a pack of pungent dogs after him. Tigers are edgy. They love a quiet environment by nature, but dogs torment them for as long as it takes till they die of exhaustion. And he is following the same strategy right now, exhausting him and driving him delirious to his bitter death. Suddenly, something strikes the steel door heavily. All those boys wondered what it was. They think about who can put a dent in their door. A strike's sound increases. Jin-sung asks somebody to go check who is at the door. A guy looks through the door hole and tells others it's Han-jun outside. All of them get shocked to know that. Jin-sung asks them to relax, as even Han-jun cannot break the iron door. He says Han-jun will get tired and go back home eventually. After a while, the sound of the door strike stops. That red-shirt guy says Han-jun must have gone scared to fight all of them and left. But Han-jun climbs the window, breaks the glass, and enters the room. Jin-sung says it is nonsense to climb the 3 floors and break in. Han-jun beats 3 of them well with a rod and his fists. He asks the rest who wants to be the next. Sajin grinned as he knew something terrible was going to happen. Jin-sung does not look terrified. He remembers that they all handled Sun Paik like a cakewalk. They lost 3 pawns, but it might be because they were raided. They must have tactics and moves they have been using. If they bring their game, they can win against him. Jin-sung orders his boys to raise him down. They all move together to do a group attack. Han-jun dodges the first attack. He makes that guy trip first. Then he grabs him by his leg and smashes him against the wall. A guy is about to attack with a bat from behind. As he swings the bat, Han-jun bends forward to escape his attack. He grabs that guy by his neck and smashes his head on the floor. That red-shirt guy appears behind. Han-jun turns to stop his attack, but the second boy grabs both his arms. He asks his fellow to finish him. He hits his head with the bat and thinks he has got rid of him. Then he gets shocked to see his broken bat. Han-jun gives him a terrified look. He throws him out of the window. That guy falls on the road outside. At the same time, a biker comes there and stops near him. She removes her helmet and looks at him. She goes near him and asks if Han-jun is up there. He thinks she's an angel. He tells her he is up there. He asks her for her number, so she hits him in the head with her helmet. After that, she sits on her bike and calls Jun-woo. She tells him about Han-jun and that he is fighting and breaking into a house there. He asks her about the location. She says she cannot decide which designer bag she should buy. She says she is so confused that she cannot tell about his location. Jun-woo understands that she is asking for money, so he sends her. She becomes happy and gives him the exact address. It is just Jin-sung and Han-jun left. Jin-sung admits that he cannot beat him. He asks why he has spread him. He thinks Han-jun needs something from him. He asks him to say the name, and that thing will be his possession. In return, he can let him go safely. Han-jun says he is thinking wrong. He grabs him by his neck and lifts him. Jin-sung chalks and beats him unthinkingly with a bat. Han-jun throws him to the ground. He punches in his face. Suddenly, a guy enters through the door and sees all this mess. He grabs Han-jun's arm and asks him to stop destroying his house. He asks why he is fighting in his house instead of on the street. He tells him he is already suffering enough as an orphan. Those gangsters frequent his house as they own it. Now he is running everything here. He cries louder and asks why all this bad is happening to him. Meanwhile, Jun-woo enters the house and says destroying it is unnecessary. That kid asks Jun-woo if he ordered him to break into his house. Jun-woo says he will pay for the damage. That guy asks for 10 million won. But his face beams when Jun-woo says he will give him 50 million won. Jin-sung finds his chance, so he runs towards the window to escape. He jumps from it, but Han-jun grabs him before he falls. He tells him he is not done with him yet. Jin-sung knows he is dead when he gets pulled up, so he brings a knife from his jacket. He pierces Han-jun's hand with it, so Han-jun leaves his collar and sets him free. Jin-sung smiles, thinking he has saved himself, but then he realizes he is about to fall to the ground. He's got his shoulder injured. He gets up and runs away from there. Jun-woo looks at him and says his will to stay alive is strong. One of those runaway guys laughs at them and calls them stupid as they have stepped on a mine. Both of them look at him and think what he is talking about. That guy says Jin-sung's father is the chairman of PJ, the shipping behemoth. He asks if they know how cold-blooded a seaman can get. His father is not just a seaman. He's a mega-rich one who can make them vanish into thin air. Jun-woo looks concerned first. Then he smirks and says this can be problematic. Jin-sung enters his house stumbling. His father, Haryeon Wong, looks at him, grabs him by the shoulders and asks who did this to him. Jin-sung trembles and asks his father if he can barrel 2 guys for him. His father warns him that there is no coming back after that. He replies that he knows that. Haryeon asks him what has motivated him to choose this option. He replies that he let 2 unworthy guys get at him. His father smirks and says his imprudent son finally dares to take revenge. But if he wants this favor from his father, he must ask differently. He lifts his chin and says he should not let his eyes sell him out as pathetic or insincere to his listeners, or they return on their offer. He should focus on what he demands and ask again as his life hangs on it. Jin-sung rubs his eyes with his sleeves, looks at his father and says he will not rest till he sees their dead bodies. Hae-ryong likes his son's courage. He calls someone and tells him they need 2 steel barrels. They are going to teach some adolescent daredevils a lesson. After a while, some cars head towards their location and stop outside a construction building. Hae-ryong and his errand boys get inside the building to beat those 2. Jung-woo calls it interesting to bring a guerrilla troop to a high school feud. He says he does not want an untimely death as he has a different plan for his life. He asks if Miss Hwang cares to know about it and he can tell him. Hae-ryong is shocked to hear this tone. He recognizes that it is Miss Oh and wonders what he is doing here. Suddenly, he gets a call and is informed that all OG affiliates are reaching out to notify cancellation of the shipping deal for next quarter. They are doing this because it is Chairman Oh's order. Hae-ryong is in a blue funk to hear this. Jun-woo looks at him and smirks. Hae-ryong gets on his knees and begs for forgiveness from Jun-woo. His boys ask him what happened to him all of a sudden. He orders them to shut up. Jun-woo smiles and says he is glad to see that he understands quickly. He orders him to send his men away right now. All those cars leave that site. Jun-woo sits on a chair. Hae-ryong is still bowed in front of him. He tells him that this shipping deal means a lot to him. It is the lifeline of his company. His company cannot last a quarter without its partnership with OJ. Jun-woo says he would love to renew the contract, but he takes his public image seriously. A gang boss's father as a partner is not the image OG is trying to cultivate. Hae-ryong says he will send his son abroad for college and never set foot in Korea again. Jin-sung asks why he should leave the country. His dad punches his face and asks him to shut up. Jun-woo laughs at them and tells Hae-ryong to stop. He says that studying abroad sounds more like a treat than a punishment. He has another idea for his discipline, one that might help his vessels set sail. Hae-ryong says whatever it is, consider it done. Jun-woo says his son has cost him $50 million today so he can work off the sum he owes. Hae-ryong says his son has no means to make that much money. Jun-woo says he will work on fishing boats. While sitting in Jun-woo's office, Han-jun says he acts like a villain. Jun-woo smiles and says what they are doing is not clean, so he can call him a villain. He also warns him not to get involved in matters that money can solve. It is pointless to get himself hurt. Jun-woo replies that he did not get hurt. Suddenly, the same writer girl touches his back and says he has a bruise. Jun-woo asks him to say hello to Seo-hyeon Choi. He tells him that she will be working with him from now. She is an Instagram celebrity, but she is an informant to them. While sitting beside him, she leans towards Han-jun and says she imagined him to look like a trucker, but he is dapper. Han-jun looks at her and asks if she is serious. Jun-woo interprets them and tells her not to mix business with pleasure. He sits on the sofa and says they must plan for their next move. Seo-hyeon says they already have one where Han-jun beats everyone to death. Jun-woo says Nexus has grown exorbitantly. Han-jun alone cannot take all of them down. He says they need to reinforce their combat force. He flops a file on the table and says a guy in Dong-hyeon High may join them. Han-jun looks at him and asks if he is talking about Dong-hyeon Kim. Jun-woo replies yes. He is the same guy who fought Nexus with him when no one else did. Former No, one of Dong-hyeon High, Dong-hyeon Kim. The war ruined his life and his knee. He cannot even run anymore. Jun-woo says that they still meet him. Han-jun gives him a speechless look. Jun-woo says it can get uncomfortable, but they must take things professionally. Han-jun can take this chance to make up with him while raising that Nexus-infested school. At Dong-hyeon High School, the members of Nexus are having a meeting. They are informed that Sejang has been sent to jail. The reason was his history of forcing purchases. Therefore, no more tribute will be coming from Imyeol High School. The other members pass their comments and say he did not know how to play politics. One of them suggests that they should get back at whoever has sent him to jail, as Sejang is still a member of Nexus. The informer tells them that the one who sent him to jail is Han-jun Park. Hearing this name, Jaehyung Min gets shocked. He is the No, one of Dong-hyeon High School. He asks if Han-jun did not vow to lay low. Suddenly, a gut enters the room, giving them breaking news of Han-jun joining their school. Jaehyung smirks and says that was unexpected. He asks the guy to tell them everything. Han-jun enters the school and says he is here to destroy them all. The teacher welcomes him into the class and introduces him to everyone. He says Han-jun can sit in that seat in the back row. All eyes are on him when he walks towards the back row. As he sits there, his bench fellow, Yumin Jo, says he is happy to meet Han-jun in person. He says that everyone talks about not messing with Han-jun, but he wants to fight with him. He asks him not to take the wrong way. He says he moved here last year and has heard tall tales about Han-jun. He just wants to see if they all were not kidding. He asks him for a one-on-one fair and square fight with no backups. Han-jun does not reply to any of his questions. Yumin asks him if he is the kind that needs to be goaded to action. He smacks his head and asks if he looks like a joke. Han-jun hits his face with his elbow and Yumin falls to his back. Everyone in the class turns their faces to him. It's a dynamic batting cage. Seo-Hyeon is sitting outside the cage using her mobile. She says she is still not sure about recruiting Dong Hye-and Kim. There are a load of muscular guys with no injuries out there. So why him? If it is because he is Park's friend or Jungwoo pities him for his knee, Jungwoo replies he is not running a charity. He is inside the net playing with a bat. He says if there is one word that describes Dong Hye-and Kim, it is tenacious. Some people fixate on his small build. What they are missing is his unyielding spirit with which he fought Nexus. One thing about unyielding spirits is that they break, failing to bend. She is bored with his wisdom talk and asks why they are recruiting one with a broken knee. Jungwoo replies that when someone breaks, even if he fails to recover his vigor, he will find himself with a new sharp edge. Seo-Hyeon says Jungwoo should write a book on his wisdom talks. Han-jun walks through the corridor and all boys keep staring at him. He looks at Dong Hye-and from the opposite side carrying snacks. A fellow of him kicks in his stomach and he falls to the ground. He grabs him by his hair and asks how a snack bar errand can take more than 5 minutes. He says he put money on him making it, and now he lost that money. He helps his face and asks how he will make up for it. No. Another guy inside the class tells that bully that Dong Hye-and is already limping. His daily battering is not making him any faster. He can get crippled just trying to run. How can he think Dong Hye-and can do bread shuttling in 5 minutes? That bully hits him again and says he just needs to be more feared of him than getting crippled. Han-jun sees that all but does nothing. Seo-Hyeon says she has realized that Jungwoo will recruit Dong Hye-and, but Han-jun does not touch her as a particularly eloquent one. She says shoving money in his face would be more convenient. Jungwoo replies that it could work if Kim were kind to fall for money. He asked if she knows why he fought Nexus 2 years ago. It is because Han-jun did it. There was no other reason. This notion may touch some as absurd, fighting someone else's war and risking getting maimed. But, according to his research, a friend's war is as good as his war, and a friend taking a hit is him taking a hit. That's the kind of guy he is. Dong Hye-and is sitting on the bench on the school ground, flicking his lighter, but it is not working. He throws it away. Han-jun comes there and says it's been a long time since he saw him last. Dong Hye-and says he heard the news of his coming here. He asks him if he is here to wreck them. He tells him it is impossible as Nexus has grown much more substantial. They are unmatchable both in headcount and financial firepower. He looks at Han-jun and says they have already lost. Han-jun says this time they will win. While walking away, Dong Hye-and tells him they did not fight to lose last time either. It did not stop him from ending up like this. Han-jun turns his head and says he will see them winning this time. Ga-yeon-kil watches them from a window and says Han-jun is stupid for making a tag team with a limper. He orders his boys to get ready to take him down. Dong Hye-and is visiting a doctor at night. The doctor appreciates his taking physical therapy seriously, but that's not enough. He tells him that the longer he waits, the less likely a full recovery gets. He suggests he should visit a surgeon immediately. The cost is quite steep, but it is nothing compared to losing his mobility for good. Dong Hye-and says nothing and leaves the hospital. It is raining outside. Ga-yeon-kil comes there and asks him what the doctor says. He asks if he is getting better. Dong Hye-and asks him what he wants. He replies they were friends once and it hurts to see him like this. Then he says he is just kidding and is here to check how their former know. One is doing. He comes closer to him and says he has witnessed his secret meetings with Han-jun. He thought he should check if Dong Hye-and had recovered because Jaeon-cheol would need to break his leg again if he had. Dong Hye-and asks why he came here alone. He knows he cannot take him alone if Dong Hye-and is recovered. Ga-yeon-kil kicks his leg and makes him fall to the ground. He asks him if Dong Hye-and still thinks Ga-yeon-kil is his sidekick. He reminds him of Han-jun kneeling and getting clobbered. He asks if he needs to remind him that he ended up like this due to his sticking to loyalty. Dong Hye-and says he remembers that Jaeon-kil betrayed them and joined Nexus. He recipes that Dong Hye-and is making it sound like he is evil. Dong Hye-and asks if he is not. Ga-yeon-kil replies that he can think what he wants and be a loyal hero, but he would rather be an evil than a loyal hero limper. This time, he may not be able to be a loyal hero. It is still raining the following day. Han-jun is sitting in the classroom. Ga-yeon-kil makes an announcement. He says all Nexus members in the school have heard that Han-jun Park, who fought Nexus 2 years ago, has transferred to this school and threatened to break them. He asks him if he is ready to get beaten again. He says he knows Han-jun is strong but has never seen him fall in one-on-one combat, but he has no interest in one-on-one combat as he is not stupid. He asks everyone to get in formation and attack Han-jun. But when they all reach there, they see Han-jun has thrown some boys out of the window. Han-jun has already beaten those in his class. He says, let's see who the game is, and starts beating them all alone. Dong Hyeon is still sitting in the classroom. Han-jun is taking down all of those freaks alone. One of them gets terrified and says he will beat all of them. They put him in a lock and beat him together, but Han-jun resists and beats them to free himself. He keeps hitting them mindlessly and moves forward. Soon he gets rid of all those in the corridor, but a whole army of gangsters is waiting for him. One of them asks if he is already tired. Hundreds of them are all over the school ready to beat him. Dong Hyeon hears someone saying that Han-jun is exhausted and they are about to win. He wonders why he is doing this after all that trouble. Seo enters the classroom and asks if he is not enjoying his peace while his friend is out there fighting. Dong Hyeon asks her who she is. She replies that she is Han-jun's co-worker. Dong Hyeon says he cannot fight. She replies that she is not going to make him. She is here to tell him that Han-jun already knew the whole school would charge him. Their boss told him to flee immediately, but he did not listen and said he would fight. He said he needed to prove something to Dong Hyeon. Dong Hyeon remembers that Han-jun said they would win this time. Han-jun has defeated all those gangsters. Gyeong-kil walks down the stairs and claps. He says Han-jun never disappoint, but now they are going to give him a hell of a time. They charge at him. Dong Hyeon comes there and attacks one of them with a wiper stick. He asks him why he wants to do all the cool things alone. Gyeong-kil says it is good that he showed up as well. Now they will take both of them down. They run to attack him. Dong Hyeon breaks the stick into two and gets ready for the fight. One guy asks if he is trying to look cool by doing such poses. He punches Dong Hyeon but blocks it with one stick and hits him with the other. Another guy grips him and pushes him back. He hits his back with his head and frees himself. He keeps beating those boys with sticks. On the other hand, Han-jun is giving them a tough time with his fists. Both have trapped those boys in center and beaten them one by one. Those boys cannot believe that one person with a disability and one exhausted are defeating them so severely. They wonder why they are so strong. Dong Hyeon tells Han-jun that he is sorry. He has been resenting him like hell for what he has become. But deep down, he knew it was not his fault. He says he just needed someone to blame. Han-jun is happy to see that his friend is back. Suddenly, Gyeong-kil jumps on them to crush them. He says he can do them this favor if they wish to die. Dong Hyeon says he will handle him. They both slide away and prevent the attack. They run towards the door. Gyeong-kil runs after them and asks if this is their best move. Han-jun grabs him from the shirt and throws him on the floor. He gets up and sees Dong Hyeon locking the door so he cannot escape. Han-jun asks him to give him 1 minute. Dong Hyeon says he won't take long to beat Gyeong-kil to death. Gyeong-kil says they just made another stupid choice. Dong Hyeon says it could look that way when one has no friends. He calls him pathetic. This makes Gyeong-kil furious, and he moves forward to punch him. Dong Hyeon stabs his hand with a stick. He beats him well with that stick. Gyeong-kil grabs him from his waist, lifts him, and throws him to the glass door so hard that it breaks. He laughs at him and says he has no weapon to fight with now. Dong Hyeon takes off his shirt and wraps it around his arm. Gyeong-kil asks if this is a joke. Dong throws that shirt on his face and pulls him so that he falls on the floor. He throws punches at him. Gyeong-kil pulls his leg so Dong loses his balance. Then he locks his leg to prevent him from escaping. He tells him neither of them is the guy they used to be. Then he hits his broken leg so hard that Dong Hyeon starts screaming due to pain. Gyeong-kil sits aside and pants while Dong Hyeon holds his injured knee on the ground. Gyeong-kil tells him that he will surely pay for his revolt today. He walks towards the door, but Dong Hyeon calls him and says he is not done with him yet. Gyeong-kil asks him if that beating was not enough for him. Dong Hyeon gets up and says it hasn't ended yet. Gyeong-kil punches him in the face and asks what he can do now. He grabs him and throws him in the glass. He falls to the ground. Gyeong-kil leaves him there and walks away. Dong Hyeon calls him again and says he is not done yet. He picks up some pieces of broken glass and cuts his face with it. Gyeong-kil worriedly sees cuts on his face. Dong Hyeon does the same on the other side of the face. Gyeong-kil tries to throw a punch at him, but Dong Hyeon dodges this attack. He grabs him from the shirt and says he does not expect a sellout to understand, but he cannot lose. If he lets him walk over him, he cannot face Han-jun anymore. He smashes his head in his face. Gyeong-kil's vision blurs. Dong Hyeon beats him well and leaves him half dead. He leaves the room and sees Han-jun has cared for all the others. He's about to fall, but Han-jun supports him. Both of them are panting heavily and are happy about their win. Chairman of the board, Dong Yeon-hai, comes there and is disappointed to see the school almost destroyed. He cannot believe they brought the school to this condition just to catch one man. He orders his men to bring Han-jun to him. At the same time, the lawyer from the KP firm comes there and says they should let the kids sort out their differences and have a grown-up conversation. They sit in a room. The chairman says Han-jun must be rich to afford a lawyer from this firm, but Thai is a law-governed country. Money does not buy him the right to beat others. That lawyer asks him why they don't cut the chase. He gives him 3 suitcases and asks him to open them, and he will not be disappointed. The chairman smirks and says big firms know how to do the talk. He adds that he takes nothing but yellowbacks. Byung-won opens the suitcases. They have some paper and audio files in them. The chairman asks what these are. These are not the yellow papers he demanded. Byung-won says these are the news headlines for tomorrow. Dong-yun High has been hushing up school violence. Out of the school and into the gang. How Dong-yun High graduates got recruited. Byung-won says they have evidence of this school embezzling subsidies, purchasing estates on spec, and committing tax fraud. If the chairman is unhappy with this evidence, KR firm is happy to dig deeper. The chairman replies as Byung-won works on these, has it occurred to him that he could get killed? Those gangsters put knives on the throats of KR firm members. He asks Byung-won if he has a spare life or something, as he does not look afraid. Byung-won replies he gets killed. It certainly won't be the end. He asks if KR and DOA foundations get in a death match. Who does he think will win? And now, abatement of the murder on top, he says, a fat chance for the chairman. He reads the situation and asks his men to remove the knives. He asks Byung-won what he wants. Byung-won smirks and says not much. He just wants him to hand over this school. Han-jun and Seo Leon are present outside the ICU of the emergency ward. She asks him if he is sure he is not a robot, as he fought the entire school, but he is unscathed. Han-jun wonders if she cannot see the bruises all over his body now. At the same time, the doctor comes out of the ICU. He tells them he cannot understand how Dong Hyeon was holding him all the pain. He came in a fairly bad state. They would have to watch the progress, but he tells them the surgery succeeded. Jung-woo is sitting in a hotel lobby, reading an article about Dong-yun High and becoming happy about his success. On the other hand, a reporter is thanking Chien-soo Kim for his time to take this interview, as it will be very inspiring for students. As Jung-woo comes near him, Chien-soo thinks it weird as their team's schedule never gets canceled for a Mirror magazine interview. He looks at Jung-woo and says he must have arranged this interview. He says it is a great honor to meet Mr. Oh. Jung-woo sits beside him and asks if he has forgotten who he is. Chien-soo smiles and says he has not, but time has passed and things have changed. The past is in the past. Note he is a CEO and Chien-soo is a gamer at most. It's due respect he pays to a man he much admires. Jung-woo says he is glad Chien-soo knows his place, but he is known for clinging to the past. That's why he swallowed up Dong-yun High. Chien-soo says he does not know what Jung-woo is talking about. He puts his cup on the table and says he better get going unless Jung-woo has more to say. He reaches out to him for a handshake, but Jung-woo does not show a response. So he bows his head and leaves. Jung-woo calls him and says let's see if he can put on this fake smile next time. Chien-soo leaves the place with an angry face. After he leaves, Jung-woo gets relaxed. He was worried that he might get intimidated by the look of him. But he was worrying for nothing. While going back, Chien-soo gets a call. The other person asks him what he will do about Han-jun and Jung-woo. He replies that they just shot out a flare. They are taking action against those two. He says this fight will be the biggest in Korean history. All the prominent members of Nexus are gathered for an urgent meeting in a hotel in Seoul City. Tae-soo Choi, leader of the Gyeonggi chapter, asks others about the reason for this urgent meeting. He says he also has a private life that gets disturbed due to such short notice. Mun-gil Lee, leader of the Chungcheon chapter, says what they can about it. They have no chance. Ji-hyuk Kim, leader of the Gangwon chapter, says if Chien-soo says we gather, we gather. Chien-ju-jo, leader of the Jeolla chapter, says they shouldn't be negative about it. They have got a chance to see Seoul City. Tae-soo asks if this meeting is about Han-jun Park. He thought he had been lying low after getting slapped with settlement bills. Mun-gil replies he thinks the same. Dong-shin Baek, leader of the Gyeongsang chapter, asks who Han-jun is and if he is an important figure. Mun-gil laughs at his way of calling Han-jun's name. He mocks him and says it is not his fault as he joined only last year. He tells him that 2 years ago, this massive nuisance of a guy named Han-jun Park was the overlord of a small district of Seoul. Nexus had most of Seoul, its surrounding areas, and some other provinces under control. But Han-jun Park's district just wouldn't fall into Nexus' hands. But there was a bigger problem. His presence must have inspired guys from other districts. More and more rise up against them. So they had to pour their everything into hunting him. And it went not well. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gathered today. The unimaginable thing was that they outnumbered him. They lost every battle. After a while, Nexus was on the verge of a breakup. Dong-shin wonders and asks how that is possible. Mun-gil smirks and says once he sees him fighting, he will understand that Han-jun is a beast. Dong-shin laughs at them and says they all must have fought like cowards. Mun-gil smiles back and reminds him of his pecking order. Ji-gyuk asks him to stop arguing. He also says that Dong-shin is not entirely wrong. Taser reminds them that it all happened 2 years ago, but now Nexus has grown out of his reach. Chi-im-ju suggests them not to think so. He says it is better to be safe than sorry. If this means the least to them to someone, it could be the day he has been looking forward to. In the meantime, Chien-su enters the room and greets everyone. He sits and apologizes to them for the short notice. He says he will make up to them with dinner after this, but he has gathered them all to talk about Han-jun Park as he has started making moves. Now a war will be inevitable. It was already determined, but he thought it was a face-to-face kind of talk. Taezu says he knows it is better to be careful and asks if it calls for war. Are they not taking too much pressure off for losing a measly school? Chien-su smiles. Taezu realizes he has said something wrong. He starts sweating. Chien-su roars and asks if they think he is making a fuss. Taezu starts shivering out of fear. In-sunam, leader of the Untitled Chapter, says he does not think Chien-su is overreacting. He says he will take care of this matter. Chien-su asks him if he is sure about it, as they can no longer threaten him with settlement money. He's got a backer. Insu replies that he has been prepared since he got this scar. Chien-su says Insu has a history with him as well, so he will give him this chance. All other members agree to this decision as well. Insu laughs hysterically as he has got this opportunity to take revenge. Insu gathers his men around the lighthouse. He tells them that the day has finally arrived. The day they are good to go off Han-jun Park. One of them asks him if he is telling the truth. He says he cannot wait to kill him. Jung-woo brings Han-jun to that ruined house. He thinks it unfair that he knows everything about Han-jun, but Han-jun does not know anything about him. He says he knows nothing about how Jung-woo earns so much money, why he hates Chien-su so much, or why he is desperate for this potentially costly vengeance. He enters the home and asks Han-jun to come in as it is time to know the truth. They sit at the dining table in the kitchen. Jung-woo tells him that he doesn't own the money he has. It belongs to the owner of this house. 2 years ago, when he was a student, he had a friend. The kind of friend with whom you go way back, whom you have known forever. A friend that you fight with every day, only to make up with him the next day. A friend who is family. He was a genius in information technology. He made his stock trading eye. He could handle financial statements, market scale, policies, clientele, and the management's philosophy and public opinion. It could analyze all those things and prepare a recovery plan before investing. But then Nexus started planting its goons to control their district. They would stomp on anyone conspicuous and disband all other rings. But Jung-woo did not bear that treatment and resisted back. His friend was the same way. They were not the best at throwing hands, but they fought back like dogs. They thought if they showed Nexus how rash they could get, Nexus would just let them be. But they were wrong. Nexus was even a rasher. They burned his friend along with his house. He could not do anything to save him. When Jung-woo asked them why they did that, they beat him and said they just had a cigarette in front of that house. He should blame his friend for being unlucky. At that time, he could do nothing to avenge his friend's death. He was helpless. The will to fight back against Nexus and the hope that life could get better was not a thing anymore. He wanted to die and erase all traces of his existence from this world. He turned on the computer and saw the AI trader running there. He was thinking to liquidate and donate everything. But when he saw the profit, he forgot to blink his eyes. I did not feel anything at that time. There was no joy or regret. He was wistful because his friend would never see the fruit of his invention. He was angry that he could not share that news with him. That anger gave him a reason to live. He tells Han-jun that this money belongs to his friend. He does not mind using it all to wreck Chien-su Kim. Han-jun asks him why he is telling him all this. Jung-woo replies that he is gaslighting him. He is making it impossible for Han-jun ever to give up destroying Nexus. While returning, Jung-woo tells Seo-hyun that he just told his sad story to Han-jun. He praises her for her idea. She wonders what Jung-woo would look like while sharing his life story. She reminds him that the Untitled Chapter gang is coming after him. They don't use their brains. They just charge. She advises him to be careful of them as a brainy one would stand no chance against them. He agrees with her and says they would not have pulled this nonsense in the middle of the road if they had used their brains. They threw paint on his car. The driver asked Jung-woo to hold tight as things were getting worse. The car hits the dual carriageway. Seo-hyun is still on the call. She asks him what noise this is. Jung-woo has fallen unconscious due to the accident. Insu picks up the phone and asks if she is his girlfriend. He asks her to go to Han-jun Park and tells him In-sunam from Incheon awaits him. They are taking Jung-woo to the JQ distribution center in East Incheon. Han-jun will know what to do. Insu drops the phone there and they all leave. Han-jun is walking in the street and thinking Jun-woo is so dramatic. He was not going to give up anyway. Suddenly, Seo-leon comes there on her bike. She asks him to get on the bike as some hyenas from Incheon have kidnapped Jun-woo. Jun-woo comes back to his senses and finds himself tied to a chair. He is brought to a distribution factory. All those Incheon rats are standing around him. Banjung-baek glares at him. He asks Insu if he should knock him out again. Insu says there is no need for that as he is just bait for Han-jun. They are just holding him for a while. Jun-woo laughs at them and says they must be eccentric to abduct the chairperson of the leading company with brute force. He compliments them for this move of theirs. He asks if they are not lacking self-awareness as they are the weakest link of Nexus. Jun-woo says he remembers a weak person begging for forgiveness from Han-jun Park just 2 years ago. He grins and asks if Insu thinks he can survive Han-jun when he arrives. Banjung asks him to shut his mouth. Insu tells him that he must have heard a little about their chapter but not so much. He says it was just one man who knelt before Han-jun. Jun-woo smiles and asks him not to judge that one man as he is Insu's brother and he knelt in front of Han-jun to save Insu. Banjung grabs his collar and is about to throw a punch. He warns Jun-woo not to say another word. Otherwise, he will kill him. Jun-woo keeps speaking to tease him. When Banjung is about to beat him, a boy comes running and informs them that Han-jun is approaching. Insu asks Banjung to save his energy to deal with him. Banjung throws Jun-woo away and walks outside. Before going outside, Insu tells him that the ex-head of the Incheon chapter knelt. Insu will show him that they are nothing like before. Seo-leon and Han-jun enter the area and the Incheon gang follows them. She feels like all the bikers in the city are chasing her. She applies a brake when she reaches the Incheon gang in the middle of the road. She is terrified to see Banjung and asks if he is a Yeti. Banjung asks her to shut up and orders them to follow him. He says he's dying to kill them, but they don't gang up on people. In Incheon, they go one-on-one. While following him, Seo-leon asks how he is so big that she has never seen such an immense human before. Banjung ignores her completely. She keeps asking a lot of questions to him just to tease him. He turns his head and asks her to shut her mouth. She says she is curious and cannot help it. She asks him to answer her one question. 2 years ago, their chapter's leader settled everything with Park, so why are they all after him now? Banjung asks if she is provoking him. He tells her he beats women too and asks if she wants to get beaten. Han-jun comes in between them and says she is not wrong. Banjung cannot control anymore and he decides to hit him. He was born an unprecedented ultra-strapping baby. After hitting puberty, he reached 7'1" and 536 lbs. He is widely known as Blimp, the man-wrecker, and he just took his first flight when Han-jun kicked him. He falls away and loses his senses. As soon as he steps into the factory, all those Incheon boys get ready to attack him. Seo-leon makes a joke and asks if they can go one-on-one here. Jun-woo asks Han-jun to lose him as soon as possible as his legs are asleep. Insu steps close to him and asks him to shut up. He removes his jacket and says he will handle him alone. He goes near Han-jun and says he is glad to see him after a long time. Han-jun asks him if he is Mansu's brother. Insu does not reply and throws a quick punch in his face. Han-jun even could not see the moment. He gets a cut on his face. Jun-woo was shocked to see that cut on his face. He was ashamed. In Incheon, they pride themselves on being the strongest in Korea. It was shameful for them to submit to Han-jun without even putting up a fight. So Insu quit boxing. The path before him was that of a fighter, not a boxer. After that, he put himself through 2 years of training, wrecking 27 schools, 13 gyms, and 4 gangs on the road. He honed himself through countless fights to get back at Park. He throws punches at him and asks him if this is his best. What becomes of the humiliation they have suffered and the anger he has been nursing for the past 2 years? Han-jun is just taking his hits as he cannot escape them. Seo-hyun cannot believe that Han-jun is getting cornered. She figures that he can lose at this rate. Jun-woo says they will just wait and watch for now. He tells her that he did some research before hiring him. He was shocked to know Han-jun has no background in martial arts if they don't count fitness training. He has been tearing Nexus apart all this time with his natural strength, endurance, intuition, and adaptability. Once he grasps Nam's style, the table will turn. But the problem is that Insu is aware of all this too. Han-jun is getting beaten up badly. There are wounds a gloved hand can make. And then there are injuries a bare knuckle can inflict. A bare knuckle of a real boxer can even tear up human skin. Insu is taking advantage of this. He is tenderizing Han-jun to deal that critical blow in the second round he pre-planned. He punches him in the stomach and throws him into the wall. He asks him not to make him angry and to throw accurate punches. Han-jun tries to tackle him, but Insu grabs him by his neck and squeezes it. Han-jun pushes off his upper body weight and applies pressure solely with his core strength. Insu wonders if this is for real. Han-jun is pushing him back to crash him into the wall. Insu smirks and says this technique might work if Insu is a simple boxer. Boxing may have given him a leg up, but he is a street fighter in every aspect. He grabs him from his upper limb and kicks in his abdomen. He lifts him and smacks him down. He throws him in his steel rack. Insu's men get excited to see him getting beaten. They say they are taking their pride back. Insu says not now. It was just round one. He knows it will take more than that to knock Han-jun down, but the tear he made in his eyes and the bleeding will nibble his sight away. Then he will lose his balance and speed. He is confident that this game will improve in his favor, so he runs to punch him. But Han-jun dodges this punch. Insu wonders how that is possible. Jungwoo and Seo Hyun are also surprised to see this sudden change. Han-jun throws his first hit at Insu's face. Insu is shocked to see that Han-jun dodged his punch. He wonders if he is reading his moves. Han-jun hits another punch. Insu is losing his ground. The next punch hits his head. Insu may have the speed earned from all his combats, but he is fighting a beast right now. Jungwoo says that Han-jun cannot be overpowered by anything. Seo Hyun asks why he has been taking it, standing still until now. He replies Han-jun is not taking it, standing still. He was sizing up his opponent with his body, the fluid switching between infighting and outboxing. His range and speed, Han-jun was studying them. Insu is worried now as Han-jun knows where Insu's punches and kicks will fall. Now Han-jun is beating him continuously. Insu wonders if his training of all those years was for reading like an open book. Insu still has the edge of being fast. He gives many cuts to Han-jun's body. He continuously throws punches at him, so Han-jun cannot keep up. Jungwoo reads the situation and says Insu is going to get lost. Han-jun hits his face and tells Insu that he is slow. He throws an uppercut punch and Insu's mouth bleeds. Insu goes back in memory lane. His brother told him he could do anything to protect his crew, even if he had to swallow his pride. He used to say that the most miserable man on this earth is the one who fails to protect what he loves. Therefore, he bent his knees before Han-jun. Insu did not want it to happen, but his brother did that to protect him. Still, Insu stepped in and got that scar on his face. But now, when this beast beats him up, he realizes what his brother protects him from. His crew asks Blimp if they will just stand there and watch this happening. Insu has found that a man cannot fight and win against this beast. Insu is scared. He wants to run away. Suddenly, his crew runs to attack Han-jun. Blimp leads them and says he will be responsible for whatever happens now. Insu shouts and orders them to stop. He kneels and bows in front of Han-jun and accepts his defeat. Insu remembers that he was ashamed that the man he used to call his boss took his knees so lightly. But now, he finally gets it all. The humiliation Mansu must have felt the pin of no one understanding him and how heavy his knees must have felt. It was not Han-jun weighing them down. It was his crew. Blimp screams and asks Insu to get up. He asks if he is admitting he is as cowardly as his brother. Jungwoo comes forward and asks them to use their brains. He tells them Insu is doing this for their sake. He asks Blimp if he thinks hacking up Han-jun makes them the winners. He tells them that when grown men fight, the one who fights to protect and succeeds wins. Right now, that man is Insu. He asks Insu to look up, spits on his hand, and punches his head. Insu asks what that was for. Jungwoo reminds Insu that he kidnapped him and that punch was for that. He says now he feels better and Insu should be grateful he did not cart him off to jail. Now they have got even for kidnapping. He says Insu's gang owes quite a bit to Nexus. The heavy sum their ex had borrowed from Nexus to save each of their deprived family. Jungwoo has paid it off. All of them are surprised to hear this. Insu asks him why he did this. Jungwoo replies if he doesn't, they will keep hounding him. He says they are fools if they think he is just giving that money away. He asks them to check their phones for a message from a vocational school. Jungwoo says he has prepaid their tuition fee. He advises them to study hard and work like a dog to pay it off. He knows they have been working off the debt to Nexus with the pennies they earned by doing food deliveries and construction work. He says he is helping them only because he thinks highly of that integrity, unyielding to hardships. Insu bends his head to say thanks. He cannot stand owing to anyone, so he promises to pay it off. Jungwoo leaves that place with others. Insu tells his boys that he has lost and has nothing to say. He apologizes to them for staining their honor. He promises never to do the same again. He announces that from today, Incheon is not a chapter of Nexus. He asks them if they are with him for the honorable future of Incheon. All of his men bow and say yes. The next day in his office, Jungwoo thanks his team for excellently wrapping up Incheon. Han-jun notices Seo Hyun doing strange behavior. She is happy to get the enormous amount that Jungwoo gave her for her job yesterday. She excitingly says she hopes those Incheon men kidnap Jungwoo every day. Jungwoo says she should wash her mouth while saying that in the presence of that kidnapped man. She says she is just too happy to care. She tells Han-jun that he has got some severe cannonball shoulders. He will look quite okay if he wraps up in the right outfit. She asks him if he has time this weekend. She wants him to go shopping with her. At the weekend, those three go shopping. She makes him try different clothes. She looks at Han-jun and says Mountain Bandit is a new thing. Han-jun does not look happy, so he makes him try the next look. Han-jun looks like a rock and roll maniac. She says it's like he is an actual beat-up rock star. She takes a picture of him and asks him to throw that peace sign to make it good, but he gives her a horrible look. She gets terrified and asks him not to kill her. Jungwoo asks her to stop this nonsense now, as Han-jun does not like it at all. She asks him to try some casuals on. When Han-jun comes out of the changing room, she cannot take her eyes off him. She blushes and says from now he will wear only these casuals. She picks some more outfits for him. Two men in the store look at Seo Hyeon and recognize her as an Instagram celebrity. They say she looks fine in person too. The blonde man says he is going in. The black one warns him as she is an influencer and out of his league. The blonde guy brags and says those two men she is hanging out with show her standard is not so high. She needs a taste of a real man like him. He says she is just some glorified fantasy toy with some followers. He tells his friend that he will introduce him to her after he hits on her. He goes near her and says he has some friendly feelings about her. He asks her if she wants to hang out with him. She asks him who he is. He says he just wants to have some fun with her. He pats on her shoulder and says he loves Korea. She slaps him and asks who he thinks he is groping. She also heard everything he said. She calls him names. That guy gets angry and attacks her, saying she should know her place better. Han-jun punches his face. That guy falls on the glass door and it breaks. His friend comes forward to attack Han-jun. He blocks his punch and, as a result, breaks his fingers. He grabs him. That guy asks him for forgiveness. Seo Hyeon is enjoying the show while having popcorn. Suddenly, the storekeeper tells them they cannot fight inside the store. Otherwise, she will call the police. Seo Hyeon apologizes to her and says they will stop right now. She says they also have to pay for the damage they have caused. Seo Hyeon and Han-jun look at Jungwoo as if he is their cash cow. At the Gayami chapter of Nexus, Tasu Choi is playing cards in a bar. He is also talking to someone over the phone. He is told that Inchin has got owned. He was expecting the same from those clowns. He compliments Jungwoo for paying all their debts. His opponent player is a girl shivering as she loses the game. Taesu tells the other person on the call that he is ready to go into action, so they don't need to worry about Han-jun. He ends the call and comes back to the game. He apologizes to the girl in front for taking so long. He asks her if she is ready to check the card that could be her last. She opens her last card while her hands are shivering. She starts crying as she is lost again. He tells her that her total debt has become 120 million won. The staff grabs her and is about to take her to her new workplace. She cries and resists at first. Then she says she will do what he asked her earlier. He looks at her, smirking, and asks if she didn't say she was her close friend. She replies that she said, but now she's got what she should do. He gives her Soyeon's picture and hopes she does not regret her choice. Dong-yeon is doing heavy leg presses at the hospital's recovery ward to regain strength. He is dipped in sweat. The nurse comes to him and asks him to stop overwork as he is not fully recovered yet. He says he will stop after doing 2 more sets. Jungwoo comes there and asks him how his recovery is going on. He replies everything is going well. He thanks Jungwoo for paying his bills. He will make sure to pay it back. Jungwoo says there is no need to pay back. He also should not feel pressured to fight Nexus. He can do what he wants. Don Van thanks him again. He makes it clear that he will not stop until he defeats Nexus. He is fighting Nexus because he is choosing it. Jungwoo smiles and says he cannot wait to see him fully recovered. Jungwoo tells about his meeting with Dong-yeon to Han-jun. He is happy to know about his fast recovery. Jungwoo says since they are thoroughly updated on Dong-yeon's health, it's time to back to their business. He tells Han-jun that Inchin was the first to rally. The next one they will fight is who loaned them money. It's Tasu Choi in his Gayami chapter. Han-jun has not seen him yet. Taesu is the financial pillar supporting Nexus with the money he rakes in through loan sharking. He is the one target to eliminate. Jungwoo takes Han-jun to meet someone. The guy they came to see is mentally ill. He asks Jungwoo to promise to keep him safe. Then he will tell him everything. He promises him and asks him not to worry at all. That guy says that Tasu Choi is the devil incarnate. He starts telling his story. He was so handsome that everyone used to praise him. People around him asked him to be an Instagram influencer as he has a pretty face. He used to like those words of encouragement because it was his dream to be one of those influencers. He wanted to be loved by the public and set trends as they did. But the reality was harsher than that as his account was not growing. He used to wonder what he was doing wrong. He was about to give up. Right then, he got invited to a party held by celebrities with hundreds of followers. It was like a golden rope sent from heaven. because if he hung out with them, he would get more followers in no time. He seized the chance and went to their parties. They also praised his face and asked him to join the live stream. With their support, his following skyrocketed. It made him feel like he was something special. But it did not last longer. After some time, those influencers started showing their actual color. They were gamblers. He tried to stop him and told him that it was not right. That guy asked him to get lost as he was not remarkable to them anymore. They kicked him out of the gang. Soon after that, he lost all his followers as well. Whatever he posted or did on live, nothing could regain his followers. He started going maniac. He desperately tried to be in the gang's good book and regain his followers, so he started gambling. Soon he got addicted and lost everything. He used all the money from his father and was desperate to earn it back. And that's when Taezu entered the story. Taezu loaned him some money, and he accepted it like an idiot. But he had to work for him for 10 years to pay off that debt. But what drives him up the wall is that Taezu Choi turns out to be the person who trapped him in the gambling world. He knows it is all his fault and should not have fallen into his trap, but he was stupid back then. Jungwoo asks him not to blame himself, as the ones in the wrong here are those who chased his dreams. Jungwoo assures him that they will teach them a lesson soon. That guy opens the door by kicking it. The staff looks at him surprisingly. He remembers that Jungwoo told him to go there with Han-jun and play a little. That guy says he would not. Jungwoo told him earlier that his involvement would be confidential. He said he did not want to do anything with Nexus. Jungwoo told him if he didn't want to do anything with Nexus, wasn't that precisely the way? He said they would remove all gambling parlors and Nexus bases in Gyeonggi province. Jungwoo guaranteed him his safety. A croupier asks him if he has anything to bet. That guy puts the money bag in front of that croupier and asks him to take half of it. The croupier thinks him foolish. He shows him the way. That guy was confused when Jungwoo told him this plan. He asked what the connection was between his gambling and Nexus going down. Jungwoo replied he would bankrupt them by winning all their money. He said he knew a surefire way of winning. In regular casinos, dealers don't win all the time. But judging from the past, the games are designed to guarantee the dealers win every time. That means they are duping others. When Jungwoo told him all these things, that guy asked him how they would win if the dealer cheated. Jungwoo replied they would turn it to their advantage. When Croupier gives him the coin, he puts a gamble on all of them. He tells that guy that he has got quite the nerve, but he hears shattering when he brings cards out of his sleeves. Suddenly, Han-jun jumps over and kicks his face, and the dealer falls to the ground. The cards in his sleeves get revealed. That guy tells him the rules that if someone is caught red-handed, he remains empty-handed. So he takes all that money as it belongs to him. All the guards gather around and ask if they think it wise to create a scene there. They ask both of them to leave the money and get lost. Han-jun refuses. They attack them. But Han-jun beats all of them. He forces other joints to play as well. He catches them red-handed, playing their tricks. He beats the crap out of them. It sounds violent, but they are playing it fair and square. They are not conning anyone. At the headquarters of the Gyeonggi chapter, a man informs Taezu that their second, fourth, and fifth location has been bankrupted in one day. He says Jungwoo plays an impressive fast game, but he has just got in touch with Seo Haeyeon at this time. She asked her friend if she called her up because Taesu made her do that. She apologizes to her. Taesu says he apologizes if she finds it displeasing, but now when they have met, she could indulge him with a talk. He may be able to offer an opportunity that could please her. He asks her to tell him about Jungwoo's plans. In return, he will pay her 3 times what she gets from Jungwoo. She excitedly accepts the deal. She says he would have already told her he had money for her. She was scared for nothing. Taezu was also surprised to see her reaction. She gives her account number and asks him to send money. Then she will tell him everything. Taezu smiles and says he is happy to know her choice, but she should think again if she is planning to tell a lie. Those who take his money and lie tend to turn out dead. Charlie and Rodriguez give her threatening looks. She acts cool and says she is a terrible liar, so they should not be worried. She receives the money and says she will start with her most imminent plan. She starts counting back from 10. Taezu asks her what she is doing right now. She finishes counting and announces that Operation Mop Up the Gyeonggi headquarters has been launched. Suddenly, the entrance door breaks and Han-jun enters the room. That guy in a blue tracksuit is with him as well. He asks them if they are ready to play. All of the staff attack him on getting orders from their boss, but all of them get beaten in no time. Taezu wonders what he is doing here. No plan on earth would be able to work against Han-jun right now. Han-jun punches him and he tumbles down. He orders Charlie and Rodriguez to kill him at all costs. They tear down their clothes to show their muscle mass and intimidate him with their hugeness. They stand behind him. Han-jun leaves Taezu to take care of them. Taezu decides to run from there as fast as he can. He knows they both look solid and massive, but have no strength. Both of them are going to lose to him. Han-jun grabs their heads and smashes them on the ground. While running, Tasu tries to think about what he should do. He is not good at throwing hands, but he made it up here. It was possible because he knew how to overpower muscles with money and manipulation. He just has to think of a plan to take him down. But first, he has to save his life. Seovian is taking pictures of Charlie and Rodriguez after Han-jun has beaten them. She tells him that Tasu has run away already. Han-jun looks at the door and thinks chasing him mindlessly is useless. Jun-woo is informed about Tasu's running away. He says he will find him soon and contact Han-jun after that. He appreciates the rest of the work. Han-jun leaves the office. Jun-woo is offended as Tasu has made his work tricky. He is thinking about what plan Tasu will be plotting against them. The guy on the computer tells Tasu that he made a wise move by disappearing from the scene. Tasu replies that it will take a fool to wrestle with that beast when there is an easier way. He asks if the thing he ordered is ready. That guy replies yes. Tasu has to say the word and Han-jun is as good as dead. Tasu orders him to post it, and that guy presses the button. The gig is posted online to kill Han-jun, and the reward of 2 billion won is offered. Many people think that Tasu's principal source of income is the gambling parlor he runs, but it is not. Their primary income source is the illegal gambling website. He had just posted a bet of 2 billion won on Han-jun's neck in front of their 87,000 users. The users have started taking an interest in bounty, but they know that a bounty that big means it's dangerous as hell. The chances are that no one will dare rise to the challenge. That's why Tasu introduced an incentive system. This way, people who think they cannot kill him will try to make good money with a single blow. Countless people will be his predator. He would never suspect anyone around until they attacked him. The hunt has begun. Han-jun is passing by a street. A girl from behind calls him Gyeonmin. He looks behind at her. She apologizes to him as she takes him for someone else. She bows to apologize. Han-jun starts walking again. A girl named Sujin brings a knife from her bag and runs toward him to stab him from behind. As she runs fast, Han-jun hears the sound of her footsteps. So when she attacks, he blocks it by grabbing her arm. He notices her uncoordinated movements and gets that she is not from Nexus. That girl asks him if he has got eyes in the back of his head. She says she needs money when he is busy listening to her. A guy wearing a helmet attacks him with a bat from behind. Han-jun blocks it as well. He asks the girl why did she attack him. Meanwhile, he breaks his helmet with his bat. His facial bones break with that hit, and he falls to the ground. He gives her a scary look and asks her to explain everything. She shows him that ad from the gambling site she uses. She apologizes to him for attempting. Han-jun connects the puzzle pieces and understands Tasu does it. Suddenly, some people from the other side of the street enter there to attack him. They all are here carrying different weapons to attack him. It is like a punching bag for them that spits out money. Han-jun looks at them and thinks they all are ordinary people. The tech guy informs Tasu that they are getting countless reports of attempts. People are going crazy for this task. He says he worried the incentive system would not do the trick. But he was underestimating the number of people hung up on money. Now he is worried about going bankrupt by paying the incentive. Tasu smirks and says this is the natural outcome. He asks the tech guy if he knows why Tasu chose to seize the gambling market. That guy says he has no idea about it. He tells him that gambling makes people submissive. He gives an example. If he offers 2 billion won to a billionaire to kill someone, he will never take that. But those impoverished, who lost it all to gambling, will accept it. 2 billion won can bring them a luxurious life, so they will not hesitate for a second to kill someone. Morality is not a thing for them. And that's why they are the best running dogs for this work. Han-jun starts beating those strikers. He is shocked to see a kid among those gamblers. He escapes his attack but doesn't beat him. A guy enters his car in that narrow street to block the exit. He comes out from the car's sunroof, carrying a knife in his hand. Han-jun carries a metal waste bin and beats that car guy with it. He gets a call from Jun-woo. He asks Han-jun if he is okay. He also tells him that he has sent a rescue team and they will be there in no time. Han-jun replies that he does not need them. Instead, he should send him the location of Tasu. Jun-woo orders his security chief to send a security team right now. He is furious at this action of Tasu. Han-jun climbs the wall to escape from there. He jumps over them and runs from there. As he passes by a layman, that guy informs his team that Han-jun is in the trap. After he enters the Gotham, someone shuts it down. A whole team of street fighters is waiting for him there. Han-jun gets that they steered him in here using the people outside. He thinks these people must be from Nexus. He ties his cufflinks and says for the first time he is glad to run into a Nexus den. Han-jun beats half of them in no time. The other half gets terrified by seeing him beating others and steps back. He gets a call from Jun-woo. He informs him that he has found Tasu and has sent his location to Han-jun's phone. He checks it and says he will be there after wrapping things up here. Taezu is seeing him through a security camera. Taezu smirks and says Han-jun is unaware of what is coming next for him. The tech guy laughs and says today, Han-jun's story will end. He suggests taking down Junwoo as well. Taezu praises his idea and gives him a promotion. That tech guy posts about Junwoo on a gambling site. His picture appears on all of the screens. Taezu says he likes him always being prepared. That guy is shocked and says they are destroyed. Junwoo laughs at them and says they have trapped in his trap. Taezu asks the tech guy to shut it down, but he cannot as he has lost control of his server and the screens are frozen. Junwoo tells him that his security team has hacked their system, is going to give them a taste of their own medicine. He puts a bet on Taezu's head. The message gets delivered to all those gamblers. They get shocked to find their site hacked, so they run away. Those gamblers are now after Taezu. That tech guy and Taezu run from there while those men are after them now. Taezu wants to save his life now. He cannot let the money he just lost sway him. He can always make a new gambling website and new debt slaves, but right now, he needs to run away. But suddenly, the tech guy is thrown off at him. Han-jun stands on the stairs and asks Taezu where he is hurrying. Taezu can hear his heart beating loudly. He asks Han-jun to stay there. He threatens that he will be sorry if he jumps on him. He's a celebrity and can wipe off Han-jun from the map with just a few phone calls. Han-jun throws a kick in his face and Taezu falls behind. It is Han-jun's chance to beat him to the pulp. Taezu runs from there, but Han-jun catches him by his hair and smashes his head on the ground. Taezu warns him that he is ruining his life. At this rate, he will end up a social outcast. He says Han-jun can feel better after throwing a few punches, but it will affect his dad's job. Han-jun kicks him. Taezu cries due to hurt. He wonders how threats don't work on him. He tries offering him money and says he will pay more than Junwoo is paying him. Han-jun throws a kick on the other side of his face. Now Taezu knows that his money will not work here as well. Han-jun keeps beating him harshly. Taezu asks him to listen to him for a second. He throws bundles of cash at him and asks him to consider his profit and loss. He begs Han-jun not to kill him. Han-jun says he wants to beat him more but will leave and hand him over to those gambler slaves. They all will do it for 2 billion. Taezu is shocked to see them. He asks them if they have no work to pay him back. They say they don't have to pay back the money a casino lent them. All they have to pay back to him is violence. All that matters for them is 2 billion. They all beat him to take out all their anger. The task has been completed. Junwoo's lawyer informs him that Taezu has 14 weeks to stay in the ward. They will bring proper legal proceedings against him after that. All the SNS accounts he had been using for illegal business were suspended. Junwoo appreciates him for his excellent work. He is sure that this will make Chimunsu lose his temper. Chimunsu visits Taezu at the hospital. He has brought a basket of apples for him. Taezu is surprised to see him. He thanks him for checking on him and tells him he is much better now. Chimunsu smiles and pats his arm and asks about his money. Taezu shudders and says he is sorry about it. Chimunsu clenches his arm. He starts screaming with pain. Chimunsu asks him why he is being sorry. He knows Taezu will not give it up. He will go and retrieve his money. Dong-naeon is leaving the hospital after a full recovery. He thanks the nurse as it is all because of her care and help. She smiles and says it is her job to help. She asks him to promise her that he will not fight anymore. He smiles and says he will see about it. While walking on the road, he sees some guys beating a man in the street. That man asks them for mercy and says he will return their money tomorrow. They remind him that he said the same yesterday. One of them grabs his head and opens his mouth. The other is carrying a hammer and says 2 front teeth will do it for today. Dong-naeon sees that ring of nexus in one's hand. They are about to break his teeth. They ask him to keep steady. Otherwise, he will get holes in the roof of his mouth. Suddenly, they all start looking towards Dong-naeon, who is stretching on the road. One of them tells him he is not in the gym and asks him to run away if he does not want to get beaten up. Dong-naeon throws a kick in his face. The other 2 start looking at him and wonder what is happening. Dong-naeon rates his mobility at 80%. The other 2 run toward him to attack him. Dong-naeon runs and kicks his nose. He starts bleeding. Now Dong-naeon tests his speed and says it is at 70%. He crushes the head of the 3rd guy by kicking it. This time, he rates his strength and says it's at 50%. He knows he has to go a long way to recover completely. He leaves there. One of those Nexus guys recognizes him after he leaves. The rumors he heard are true. Dong-naeon and Han-jun Park are back in the game. Back in time, they both had nationwide fame. The legendary stories of them fighting Nexus were of utmost interest to people around the country. Now that Nexus has lost Incheon and Gyeonggi, those 2 are called the Legends Rebooted. They are gaining a tremendous following once again. Their videos are mostly consumed for entertainment, but in some people, they evoke fear and anger. Yet in some others, they create hope. Chimunsu is going upstairs to a martial arts school. He ignores the training class and keeps walking towards the roof. Munyeong is lying under an umbrella on the rooftop. He asks Chieunsu the reason for this surprise visit. He also asks if Han-jun is back for real. Chieunsu smiles and says that the news is right. Munyeong says if Chieunsu is here, he is losing to Han-jun. Chieunsu replies that only an equal opponent to him can defeat him. Munyeong asks if he remembers what happened 2 years ago. He reminds Chieunsu they use him like a disposable tool to destroy Han-jun. When he is crawling back, Chieunsu is here to find help. Chieunsu says he had no other choice in those circumstances 2 years ago. But this time, Munyeong will be rewarded handsomely. Chieunsu will give in whatever he wants. Munyeong laughs and asks if he is telling the truth. If he will give in whatever he asks for, even if it is Nexus throne Chieunsu is sitting on. Chieunsu smirks and asks him if he thinks he can handle this throne. Munyeong replies that he is checking whether his gaming activities have faded his aura. He walks towards him slowly and says he's kidding. He knows Chieunsu is not here to ask. He is here to give an order. He says he should get moving if that's what his captain wants. He passes by him and says he will not disappoint him. This matter will be dealt with masterfully like last time, but he will be expecting some reward money for a drink. Then he leaves the rooftop. At night, he sits in his room and thinks if Chieunsu came to see him because he had faith in him against Han-jun. It's sure it's not the reason, as he would never put his faith in him. The plan in his mind must be to dispose of him and Han-jun simultaneously. He wonders what he should do. Jaeyeon, who is busy torturing a man, says he feels bad about this offer. Munyeong looks at him and asks if he is still wasting his time on this man. He tells him to kill that guy if he does not spit out the money. Jaeyeon pierces his neck with a screwdriver and replies the guy has agreed to give money, but he has a bad hunch about it. He takes out the screwdriver and blood starts bleeding from his neck. That's because it took little convincing to make him say he will. He does not like his face as well. While searching for something through his instruments, Jeon-yong says he is dying to know what Chieunsu said to Munyeong. He grabs a butcher knife and asks Jaeyeon to stop. He will not kill that guy. He says he will kill him by himself. He also asks Munyeong what Chieunsu said, and if he asked him to kill Han-jun. He asked if he should call up all the boys. Munyeong smirks and says he has got a point. He was just worrying for nothing. Han-jun is not something difficult to handle. This offers a chance to see his old homies. He tells his boys that Han-jun and Dumyeon cannot be taken down with a human wave attack. He walks towards Jaeyeon and snatches the screwdriver from him. He tells them he will do it his way. He stabs that guy and says he will start with the extremities slowly. The blood starts dripping from the body of that person. Munyeong throws that screwdriver there and walks away. He puts his jacket on his shoulder and says he will surprise Chieunsu this time. First, he will kill Han-jun and then go for Chieunsu. Seo Haeyeon is hosting a party on Instagram. She has arranged to welcome Donyeon to the team. Jungwoo asks him what kind of nonsense she is pulling in his office. She asks him if he cannot see. He orders her to end it now and sit down. They have got a new target. She protests on the mic that they will not work on Donyeon's recovery celebration day. She demands him to guarantee her pursuit of recreation. He reminds her that they agreed that revenge was their prime recreation. She keeps going and says Jungwoo is an exploitative employer. He says he is firing her right now. She says she was just kidding. Suddenly, he gets a call. He is shocked to hear that Incheon was attacked. Blimp is admitted to the hospital. Insu is standing beside him. Jungwoo comes there and asks what happened to him. Insu replies that he should not have come all this way. He walks towards the door, saying he can handle it himself. Then he leaves the room. Those three see him going out but don't stop him. Blimp removes his oxygen mask and asks Han-jun to help them. Jungwoo asks him if he is just pretending to sleep all this time. Blimp replies he does not want to see Insu fight anymore. Therefore, he pretended to sleep to hide information from him. If he had told him who did this to him, Insu would have gone after that person. Jungwoo says he knows it must have been Nexus, but who attacked him exactly? Before Blimp says anything, Donyeon says is Munyeong behind this attack. He knows that Bruce all too well. He is the same guy who smashed his knee 2 years ago. Chieunsu is having a meeting with a gaming company's CEO. He thanks him for his cooperation and preparation. He says now they can put their plan into operation. He tells him that the following month, high schoolers from around the country will play games his company produces until the 2 top spots of the concurrent user statistics are filled with his games and until 15,000 won per share becomes 80,000 won per share. The CEO asks if it is possible. Chieunsu smiles and says it is possible with trust. The CEO replies that he will put all of his trust in him. While he is going down in the elevator, a guy in a mask and hoodie accompanies him. He says, in his opinion, the games are just okay. But it will not be a problem as he is given a nationwide order. Chieunsu tells Lion Kim that he trusts him with it as it is his specialty. Lion replies that they will discuss money some other day. Right now, he wants to talk about Han-jun. He has heard that Han-jun is back in the game and Cheon-soo is countering him with Moon-yeon. He warns Cheon-soo that Moon-yeon will invite all kinds of messy complications. He asks if Cheon-woo is sure of that choice. Cheon-soo replies that it is a wide-open field. A hyena is among its inhabitants, but it preys on decaying carcasses. It can tub on dead meats all it wants, but that will not disrupt the order of the wild. He suggests Lion take a seat and watch those two fight. Lion replies Cheon-soo has got a point there. A lion does not need to get involved with a hyena. Dong-yeon is doing squats at the gym. Seo-yeon is also doing workout and posting her videos on Instagram. She tells him that they should make a workout video together someday. He takes the rod down and comes out of the squat machine. He is panting and is dipped in sweat. He asks her what she is doing here. She comes to the point and says she has found that Moon-yeon used to live in the United States before moving here. But she could not find too many of his friends. She needs Dong-yeon's help. She asks him to tell her everything about him. He goes back to the machine. He tells her that Moon-yeon is a genius. In his life, he has only seen 3 geniuses in the fight. The first is Han-jun. The second is Cheon-soo, and the third is Moon-yeon. 2 years ago, Han-jun and he entered high school and became the heads of their district. No one would dare challenge them or try to take their district over, not even Nexus. But a few months later, he heard that some kid from the US transferred to Gangman High School. He floored the whole school on his first day, even the 3rd year. At that time, it sounded impossible to him. Then he transferred to a school in her district. A lot of changes followed after that. He started making the nearby schools his colognes. Then he ranked them, tempting them to fight each other. Schools that fell below rank became the target of his frantic bullying. No one knew the reason why he was doing that. The students of Dong-yeon's school were judging his pattern, and they noticed that their school was next in line. But they were hopeful that their school would not fall as they had him. One day, a fellow of his entered the classroom staggering. He told him that Moon-yeon was not a joke. Then he fell to the ground. There was a message written on the back of the shirt. Dong-yeon was called to meet Moon-yeon the next day at 8 p.m. in the park. He was furious. He went there the next evening. About 1 hour had passed waiting for him there. A few minutes later, another student came staggering and fell near him. He was sending messages that way. He canceled the plan. He was playing dirty. He disappeared when they thought they got close to confronting him. Then a kid from his school would appear beaten to a pulp by him. He was tearing Dong-yeon down little by little. 8 students had been down like that. People at his school started thinking that Dong-yeon was hiding from him. When Dong-yeon was completely shattered, he finally appeared. That's how Dong-yeon's bitter struggle with Moon-yeon began. He asked him if he was the head of the school because he looked like a minion. He was making him angry. So Dong-yeon kicked him, but he dodged it. He asked Moon-yeon why he did all that crazy stuff with his school fellows. If he wanted to die so hard, he should have come directly and asked for it. He threw multiple hits at him, but Moon-yeon dodged all of them. He replied that he did everything to anger Dong-yeon, so he agreed to fight him. Then he throws a punch on his ribs, and those get cracked. He fell back but stabilized himself. Dong-yeon said if making him angry was his plan, he succeeded in it. He again tried to kick him, but Moon-yeon punched him first. Dong-yeon understood that Moon-yeon was not an ordinary fighter. He was a strong one. He was a viper, injecting venom through his opponent's wound. He injected anger into Dong-yeon before the fight. It swayed him emotionally. Things were going in Moon-yeon's favor. Dong-yeon was losing the fight. He needed to pull himself together. So he controlled his emotions and started using his brain. He wrapped his legs around him and stopped his attacks. But Moon-yeon freed himself. Dong-yeon was able to throw his first hit somehow. He broke his nose with his head strike. Moon-yeon threw him away, but he got hurt. Dong-yeon got up and said he was underestimating him. He thanked him for that beating as it was like a wake-up call for him. Moon-yeon said he would like to wake him up a bit more. And then a proper fight took place between them. It was a bloody fight. It was a double knockout. So the fight ended in a tie because someone called the police, and they all had to run away from there. Moon-yeon realized he was taking this fight too easy as Dong-yeon was no ordinary fighter. Before leaving, he said they would carry this fight another time. But next time, he would be trampling on him harder. For Dong-yeon, that tie was worse than a defeat. In his meeting with Han-jun, he asked if he wanted him to take care of Moon-yeon. He replied that Moon-yeon seemed set on taking over that whole area. Han-jun would eventually come into conflict with him too. When it happened, he wanted him to stay away from Moon-yeon because he would kill himself. Jae-young said Moon-yeon attacked Dong-yeon first because he was weaker than Han-jun, but if the weaker one was that strong, it was impossible for him to defeat Han-jun. Moon-yeon replied if it were impossible for him alone, he would attack with 100 boys. Even if those two were beasts, they would not stand a chance in 100-on-1 combats. In Busan City, Cheon-soo is having lunch with Moon-gil Lee. He tells Cheon-soo that he has heard a funny story. He has heard that some guy named Munyeong is fighting Han-jun. He says their men's morale is down these days. They only have Jeolla and Buzin left to seize this country because of Han-jun. Kyunsu does not reply to him and keeps smiling. Mungil has heard Munyeong is roughly a match for Dongyan. He suggests they can hire him to get rid of Han-jun and Dongyan. Kyunsu stands up and asks him to stop eating. They can deal with Han-jun later. Right now they have to deal with some other people. A gang is present outside the restaurant. Their boss asks Kyunsu to come out. His men throw chairs and tables and break the windows of the restaurant. Mungil does not like to get interrupted during lunch. He calls his boys and says they will have lunch after finishing this job. Both gangs start to fight there. Kyunsu looks at his opponent and smiles. That guy moves forward to attack him, but Kyunsu punches him first and throws him away. After that, he thinks that Munyeong can be proved useful someday. Munyeong told his men that they were going to fight Han-jun that day. His men were not sure if they could beat him or not. Even Nexus could not touch him. Munyeong told them they could hunt Han-jun. He knew they all were intimidated by him. It made him angry. He asked them if they were just some useless guys and were not tired of laying low. It's not right for 100 guys to live with their heads hung low just because of one guy. No matter how good Han-jun was, he was a human that could be killed at the end of the day. They were not stronger than 100 men and him combined. They would also rise above Nexus after this act of theirs. That speech raised those men's morale. Suddenly, Han-jun entered the room dragging a man. He asked them if they thought they could beat him by gathering 100 men. Han-jun asked him if he was Munyeong. Munyeong replied yes. He said thanks to Han-jun for coming there and saving his time. Han-jun asked him to shut up and start fighting. He would show him how the fighting was done. Munyeong wore a rubber glove and said he disliked playing clean. Suddenly, 2 of his men threw broken glass pieces at him and Han-jun started bleeding. Munyeong punched him, but Han-jun dodged it. But those pieces of glass cut his skin and he was bleeding. Munyeong said that was just the start. He had much to show to him. Those men there attacked him, but they were weak, and he beat them even after being injured. But they kept rushing at him. Han-jun understood that they were being used to drain his stamina and hurt his hand. Then he stopped resisting and started getting beaten. He got an idea. He removed his shirt and wrapped it around his hand to save it from damage. That fight was disadvantageous to him, but that situation created a beast. He became a legend. Munyeong was not able to throw a hit at him. No matter how hard he tried, he was getting beaten badly. He thought it impossible. He had fought a lot of tough men when he lived in America. Even when his opponent had different weights, he never got pushed back. Even when he fought the one called the strongest in America, it ended up an absolute win. He wondered what Han-jun was made of, how he could be that strong. Han-jun beat him to death. He pressed his head under his shoe and said if he ever thought to fight against him, he would spend his entire life looking at the ground. After getting beaten so badly by Han-jun, Munyeong sat under the bridge. He thought it crazy that one man was beating 101. He accepted him as a wall that he could not climb and come over. Jae-young came there and asked him why he was looking sad. He reminded him that he was the kind of person who would do anything to win. He stood up and said sorry for being hopeless for a few seconds. After that fight, Munyeong disappeared for quite some time, but that disappearance didn't mean that the after effect of that fight also disappeared. Han-jun's clear victory news spread like fire. People were calling him the strongest in Korea. Some of them had doubts related to Nexus, that Han-jun would not be able to fight against Nexus. Seeing the rumors spreading, Kyunsu was losing patience. Nexus's position was being threatened, so they tried to take over Han-jun's territory. They started sending men to care for him, but none could. He was stronger than all of them. He started taking down Nexus from Incheon. Then he defeated Gyeonggi and Gangwon. He also defeated those men who were considered good fighters in Korea. People were falling in love with him. Nexus was on the verge. Mun said they should have killed Han-jun and ended that story. Kyunsu said they would not do that as it would not be effective after their national conquest. He did not want people to remember Noose as a gang of bullies. He said they would start with basic fear and defeat him in combat. He was going to do it by himself that time. Lin came there and asked him to calm down. He said if Kyunsu would fight him, he would put everything about Nexus at stake. Kyunsu asked him if he did not believe in him. Lion came beside him and said if he did not, then who would? He knew that Kyunsu had run out of patience, but he did not need to take that big risk to take over one area. Lion also said they should end it quietly, even if they needed to play dirty. Still, Kyunsu did not agree to kill. Lion said they would use someone who was not one of them. He said he already had a perfect guy in his mind. That guy was perfect for wrapping up the show. Munyeong was training harder to be able to fight against Han-jun. Someone came there and asked him if he thought it would be enough to defeat Han-jun. Munyeong looked at his face. It was Kyunsu. He told him he had an easier and faster way to eliminate Han-jun. He asked him if he wanted to join Nexus. Munyoung said he heard that Nexus was in trouble due to Han-jun. He said he failed to take him down. It meant that no one could take him down. Chien-su said he had his reasons. Moreover, he did not come all the way to fight. He asked if they could jump into the business. Munyoung said let's see what Chien-su could do. He ran to attack him and check whether Chien-su was qualified to be his underlying. Chien-su blocked his attack. He asked Munyoung if he did not want to take revenge on Han-jun. He already had a plan and money to defeat him. He released his fist and said no one fits better in that plan than Munyoung. If he agreed to it, things would get easier. He asked if they could talk now. Munyoung got ready to hear his plan. Dong Hee-won was walking in the street on a rainy evening. Suddenly, he noticed that gangsters surrounded him. He threw his umbrella and indulged in the fight with them all alone. At that time, he thought Nexus still abided by Fit's fights. He never thought Nexus would do him dirty by using weapons. He fell into their trap. They took a picture of him injured and sent it to Han-jun. They called him to their location. Han-jun came there. Dong Hee-won was hanged there in chains. That's how the war of 2 years ago and the last fight started. Han-jun furiously said he had told Munyoung to lower his gaze in front of him. He replied that there was no such thing in his life. Then he threw a strike on Dong Hee-won's leg and broke it. He could not even scream as his mouth was tapped. This added to Han-jun's anger. Dong Hee-won became unconscious due to the pain. Han-jun lost his cool and ran towards him. He told Munyoung that he would take out his eyes, but he got trapped in chains as well. They planned to distract them, so he did not notice the chains around him. Han-jun tried to free him but could not. They started beating him with sticks. He got injured. He grabbed those chains in his hands and started to pull those guys with those chains. Munyoung told him that he would die. Han-jun was at home at this time and he had just finished showering, but at that moment he heard a conversation on the phone about his father who was currently experiencing financial difficulties. His father did all this for Han-jun, so he made a little sacrifice. Han-jun then went out at night, and at that time he regretted himself because he couldn't be of much help to his father. He immediately punched the log until it cracked. He was angry with himself and admitted that up to now he had been useless. We thought there was nothing to be afraid of in this world, but Han-jun was harmless in front of money and power. He wondered our fight had ended and it was completed defeat. And then he knew there's a power in this world that Han-jun could never defeat. In the past, Han-jun was very helpless in front of Chien-su, and the person felt that Han-jun had chosen the wrong path. For Chien-su, this is only part of the reality. In this world, there are differences in power, and he asks Han-jun not to forget this day, then never try to touch the top because Han-jun nobody from the start, so just live quietly. After that, Chien-su immediately left him in a battered state and saw how Han-jun sincerely reflected on himself. Then Han-jun was surrounded by many people who were preparing to do something to him. It turns out Dong Hee-won was telling the story of Han-jun in the past. He told this to Seo-hyun at the incident that took place 2 years ago, and everything that Dong Hee-won knew was in Park Munyoung. Then Han-jun tried looking for him again, but he refused, not because he didn't trust him, but didn't want to involve himself again like past. Here Seo-hyun tries to calm Dong Hee-won, and he doesn't need to worry about this because now they have their own lives. But Dong Hee-won can't accept this. He was trying to do something. On the other side, Jungwoo is thinking about Incheon and Gyeonggi. Neither of them are the main pillars of Nexus, but Nexus don't use their main force. Then Park Munyoung, thinking could win again, it's us. In another place, Park Hae-jun was walking in the city at night, but suddenly a fast car tried to hit him. But he managed to swiftly avoid it until he fell. But there was still another car that tried to hit him when Hae-jun fell. Amazingly, Hae-jun was still able to avoid the car and get away from the middle of the road, but from the car he threw something at him. It turns out he got a photo of Dong Hee-won at the gym. In a building, Chien-su is talking to a red-haired man. Chien-su asked him not to fight, just support the others. Among the school-managed Nexus and the kids from local school, let's us them. Moonbul will Chien-su use him as a pawn against Park Munyoung. If he be used to be like that, Moonbul himself would take care of Park Hae-jun. But it seems like Chien-su refuses that, not because he doesn't trust Moonbul. Chien-su gives the reason that now they have an important job now, and now is the right time. Our long-standing plan might be jeopardized, and once again, Chien-su tells Moonbul to handle Park Munyoung. It seems like Moonbul agrees with this, focusing on more important things. Elsewhere, a mysterious person is seen doing something to Dong Hee-won while bathing. The mysterious man managed to open Dong Hee-won's locker. It also looked like he had been ordered by someone to install a device on Dong Hee-won's phone and give him the pinned location. Then Dong Hee-won left the gym to go home, but from the opposite direction, there was a motorbike rider who tried to attack him with a baseball stick, but he managed to avoid it. The sudden attack made Dong Hee-won shocked, but the danger had not stopped. Suddenly someone threw an AC at him, but he managed to avoid it again. But Dong Hee-won didn't just stay silent. He tried to counterattack the motorbike rider. He ran fast towards the motorcyclist and immediately kicked him hard. However, Dongyun's hard kick didn't hit the driver. Instead, he threw a photo at him, and there in the photo was Han-jun, and he speculated that this was Park Min-young's doing. Then in another place under the mountains, Min-young was seen with his troops coming to another place, and it turned out to be the place of Moongul. Moongul approached Min-young at the same time as his troops, and they faced each other, but it seemed that their arrival was welcomed by Moongul. Lee Moongul introduces himself to Park Min-young, but he ignores him, because he knows that they both already know each other. Their goal seems to be the same, to stop Park Han-jun. Even though they have the same goal, for Min-young the goal is a little different, because Park Han-jun will come to this place soon, and these guys are just here to fill up the numbers. On the other side, it seemed like Dongyun was worried about Han-jun, so he tried to call him, but Han-jun didn't answer at all. Strangely, the call from Dongyun didn't go through to Han-jun. It seems that previously seen, Dongyun's phone had been hacked. Now Han-jun actually gets news via his phone that Dongyun is in danger, and if he doesn't immediately go to that place, then Dongyun will be in danger. Hearing the news, Han-jun immediately ran quickly to where Dongyun was. Somewhere, Dongyun went to an abandoned school alone. Here he knew that this matter was all fake. At this rate, this incident happened the same as 2 years ago. At night school, it turns out that this was the work of Min-young who made this plan. He made Han-jun and Dongyun far apart and regretted why it was difficult for Chin-su to deal with Han-jun, even though for his it was very easy. Finally, his plan succeeded. Han-jun came alone to the place because he received news that Dongyun was in danger. Then Min-young tried to provoke Han-jun that Dongyun was really in danger, and that made Han-jun angry. But there he was blocked by many people who tried to fight him. Not long after, one of them challenged Han-jun because he was curious about Han-jun's strength, so he tried to fight him. But unexpectedly, the person immediately lost in one blow to Han-jun. Han-jun furiously ran towards all of them, then they all seemed to be getting ready to fight. It turned out that Han-jun easily defeated them all, until they all lost badly and couldn't get back up with significant injuries. Min-young is surprised that the elite Nexus can be defeated by Han-jun alone, but Moongul here tells him that they are all just freshmen. For monsters like Han-jun, they are nothing. He managed to defeat the freshmen without getting hurt. Then he immediately ran towards the building, but Moongul had already anticipated this in the building. While he was in the building, Han-jun saw two people walking towards him, and it turned out that they were both Nexus elites who seemed to be experts in martial arts. Without thinking, Han-jun immediately threw his fist at the elite, but unexpectedly he managed to avoid Han-jun's attack easily, which shocked him. Then he used a martial arts technique to counterattack by slamming Han-jun hard onto the ground, and he immediately pulled Han-jun's clothes for the next attack. It turned out that he lifted Han-jun with both hands, then threw him into the classroom, causing him to bounce and hit the classroom door, breaking it. He doesn't know what Han-jun actually did in the past, but the way he tries to fight Nexus, it will never work. Now Nexus is on a different level, and they don't need an opponent like Han-jun. Han-jun didn't listen to their words, and he immediately attacked them both with his fists, but this man stepped forward to face him and managed to avoid Han-jun's fists. After avoiding Han-jun's fist attack, this man immediately caught his hand and tried to lock it. Then the other elites also tried to attack. It turned out they both carried out body lock attacks at the same time and tried to press Han-jun hard, making it difficult for him to release their grip. It looked like Han-jun had reached his limit, but he wouldn't give up. He tried to move by throwing his body backwards. Han-jun tried to hit his back against the back wall, but it seemed like it would be difficult. Then Elite Nexus immediately used real choke and back choke to slow down Han-jun's movements. A bare hand choke was also used, making it difficult for him to move freely. This choke technique was indeed a good combination to defeat his opponent. This technique is known as killing lions because that is one way to defeat lions with bare hands, and now it is difficult for Han-jun to let go of their grip. But Han-jun's efforts to get out of their grasp were still ongoing. He immediately got up and directly rammed his head hard against the wall. This resulted in the Elite Nexus's head also being injured due to a hard impact on the wall. Han-jun continued to struggle strongly. He tried to throw his body to the ground even though their choke was already strong, but Han-jun was still able to struggle. The Nexus Elite is still trying to paralyze Han-jun, and it looks like Han-jun's resistance has loosened. Unexpectedly, Han-jun's determination to fight was very strong. He immediately got up and directly hit his head again on the ground, causing the Elite Nexus also suffer damage to the head. They also both received damage to the head. He was surprised by Han-jun's endurance like a monster. Even the Elite Nexus are still trying to paralyze Han-jun with their choke. But still Han-jun's endurance was very strong. Then he hit his head again along with Elite Nexus against the wall hard. Finally, the man couldn't take it anymore. As a result, he lost consciousness and fell to the ground, so Han-jun managed to get free. Not long after, one of the Nexus elites who was holding Han-jun's hand get a turn. He also pulled his clothes. He lifted him up with one hand and immediately hit him on the ground so that the fighter from the Elite Nexus lost instantly. Previously, they had also been told by Mungul that they would lose in the fight against Han-jun. But for Mungul, there was no harm in trying and they would soon find out. Then now they know the strength of Park Han-jun, but if they know that they will lose to Han-jun, why does Mungul want them to fight? It's not that they are weak, it's Han-jun who is too strong, so Mungul needs the power of their special skills to weaken Han-jun and drain his stamina. Then when Han-jun runs out of stamina, he will immediately face another Nexus Elite, and they call him a faster fighter. Now Han-jun is being face-to-face again by an elite Nexus fighter. The Nexus Elite fighter, who has speed and full stamina, fights Han-jun with his stamina completely drained from the previous fight. On the other side, Soo-yeon took Dong-yeon on her motorbike to go to Han-jun's place, but now they wanted to meet someone first. There they met Nam Min-soo. He said that they had to clear up Out, who had hacked Dong-yeon's phone and hurriedly told them to go. They all go to Han-jun's place together. Dong-yeon looked worried about Park Han-jun's condition. There, Han-jun threw his punch at the Nexus Elite, but he managed to dodge it easily. The two of them quickly moved. That man managed to dodge skillfully all Han-jun's attacks, and he said he wouldn't be able to defeat him easily. Previously, Mungul saw that all his movements would be lethal and fast, and what he needed now was just go with the flow. Then Mungul told him don't approach Park Han-jun while restless and gave him the order to try to buy time as long as he can, but he didn't seem to like fighting like a rat. Mungul also warned him that if there was a chance to win against Park Han-jun, not to do it. But this time he knew the condition of his opponent because at this time, Han-jun would not be able to avoid his punches. Most martial arts have pre-movement before they attack, and his technique is different. He moves his fist first, then followed by his waist and legs. Park Han-jun, who's used pre-movement, didn't realize that he about to attack, and his fist ended up on his face. This man's current condition knows that he is superior in this fight with his punching speed like a bullet, but Mungul's words make him sick, because for him there's nothing special when facing Park Han-jun. He immediately kicked Han-jun hard, but his kick was endured, and then Han-jun countered his attack with a kick. Again, this Nexus Elite managed to avoid his attack, and suddenly, without realizing it, he had reached the end of the wall. He was a little surprised because he had touched the wall without realizing it, and he suspected that it was Han-jun's strategy to try to corner him against the wall. Han-jun immediately threw his fist, but it was quickly avoided by the Nexus Elite, and he tried to attack Han-jun from a very close distance without needing space. The man directly threw his punch like a cannon, causing Han-jun to fly backwards, but Han-jun was still able to survive the attack. After successfully surviving the attack, Han-jun continued to attack the man, but again, when he approached him, Han-jun was hit again. The Nexus Elite man seemed to have mastered the one-inch punch. Hearing this, Han-jun seemed irritated and was preparing to attack again. In the end, Han-jun still continued to attack the Nexus Elite, but this man was surprised. Even though Han-jun had been hit by his one-inch punch several times, he was still able to endure an attack. Seeing Park Han-jun's persistence in continuing to attack, this man finally got fed up and carried out continuous one-inch punch attacks on Han-jun in succession. He continued to attack Han-jun with a strong one-inch punch without stopping, until he ran out of stamina when hitting. And that's where his hand stopped. He was confused and shocked by this. Han-jun was seen with an annoyed and angry face, offending him for talking too much. Not long after, he directly threw a hard fist at the Nexus Elite until he fell to the ground. The freshman told him that the Elite Nexus second floors had been defeated. Mungul admitted it was because that person didn't listen to what he said, that now Park Han-jun is heading to the third and fourth floors. They were notified again when the freshman reported that the second floor had lost. Just now, Park Han-jun had beaten the third floor. This made Mungul very surprised, because Han-jun was quickly able to beat the third floor even though he had run out of stamina. If the third floor is defeated that quickly, then the fourth floor is certain to have lost too. When Mungul heard this, he just fell silent, and it looked like Munyeong like this. Munyeong smiled seeing Mungul's sad face. The two of them seemed to be arguing because Munyeong couldn't read the current situation, that Park Han-jun would come here. The two of them got into an argument that now Mungul's plan has failed. It's time for Munyeong to take care of Park Han-jun with his troops, and finally Han-jun is on his way here. In the corridor, when Park Han-jun had defeated the fourth floor, he was attacked from behind by someone using a knife, but he managed to avoid it, then launch a counterattack at that person. But there were two of them. That person also attacked him from behind, but Han-jun's reflexes were so good that he was able to dodge the attack, then counterattacking this person. He managed to defeat the two people and went straight to the roof of the building, where Munyeong and his troops were waiting for his arrival. Their Park Han-jun will face all these people equipped with weapons, and Munyeong is already prepared for this. He asked Munyeong where Dong-yeon was, but he just laughed when he heard that sentence. It turns out that Dong-yeon wasn't there from the start. This was all Munyeong's plan to trap Park Han-jun. Then they started carrying out their plan. When Han-jun was trapped in the net, the students immediately beat him so badly that this situation made him cornered and suffer pain from their blows. From a distance, Munyoung seemed to hear the sound of many motorbikes, which turned out to be Dong-yeon, In-soo, and their friends. They all came to help Park Han-jun. Their Dong-yeon told Soo-hyun to put him right in front of them. Soo-hyun will try to put Dong-yeon right in front of all the delinquent students. She immediately gave him a jump so he could jump directly in front of all of them and beat them. In-soo also joined in, beating up the delinquents using his motorbike, who were trying to block Dong-yeon's path. In-soo and his friends will handle all the delinquents and tell Dong-yeon to go to Park Han-jun. He immediately rushes to where Han-jun is. Seeing this, it could be seen from Munyoung's face that he was very annoyed. In-soo's job there was to open a path for Dong-yeon to quickly get to Han-jun's place. They all started beating up all the delinquents, but one of the delinquents looked strong. In-soo and Dong-yeon did not remain silent about this. They also beat up the delinquent who looked strong. The two of them worked together to beat up all the punks until finally Dong-yeon warned In-soo that there was danger lurking around him. It turns out that the danger was Mongol. He kicked In-soo so hard that he bounced and fell off his motorbike, but the good thing was that In-soo managed to block it with his hand. Seeing this, Dong-yeon directly responded to Mongol with a kick, but he managed to block it. It looked like Mongol had no business with Dong-yeon and told him to immediately go to Park Han-jun's place. But now the business is with the traitor In-soo. It looks like they will fight each other. Then In-soo tells Dong-yeon to go and he will handle Mongol. Dong-yeon let them go. For Mongol, he's been waiting for this because he's been holding back from Munyoung. And now he needs a punching bag. That's why In-soo came here. The fighting between In-soo and Mongol finally started. They gave each other attacks. Seeing those who were trying to help Han-jun, Munyoung immediately ordered his troops to quickly finish off Han-jun. Han-jun's current state can only endure it because he can't move and is trapped in the net. Then Munyoung tries to hit him with a baseball stick. When Munyoung attacked using a baseball bat, Han-jun immediately saw a gap there and directly attacked him using his punch so that they were both hit. So they both took damage from their blows and the other punk immediately blocked Park Han-jun's movements. This made Munyoung very angry and he took out a screwdriver to immediately attack Han-jun. But unexpectedly, when Han-jun was in danger, Dong-yeon came just in time to save him by kicking Munyoung. Han-jun was surprised by the arrival of his friend Dong-yeon, and the two of them immediately worked together to beat up all the punks. Seeing all his subordinates defeated by the two of them, Munyoung was very annoyed and was going to do something. He prepared the rope and raised it in his hand, then immediately charged towards Dong-yeon. Unexpectedly, he pushed Dong-yeon along with his body, causing them to fall from the top of the building. But unexpectedly, when Munyoung tried to drop Dong-yeon, it turned out that he was still able to survive by hanging on Munyoung's leg. Munyoung, who saw him still hanging on his leg, tried to kick him, but Dong-yeon was still able to hold on and immediately strengthened his legs to take a stance. He immediately threw his feet against the wall so that the rope moved backwards again. Then the impact of the stomp from his foot made the rope move backwards, making them both move forward at high speed, causing Munyoung to hit the wall hard. When Munyoung was hit hard by the wall, Dong-yeon was able to save himself by breaking the glass and entering a room, and as a result of this, Munyoung lost consciousness a little. Then suddenly the rope moved as if something was pulling, causing him to be pulled up. It turns out that the one pulling the rope is Han-jun. Here with an angry face, he will beat Munyoung up. Han-jun pulled Munyoung hard, sending him flying upwards. And at that moment, Han-jun immediately punched Munyoung hard. The blow from him made Munyoung bounce forward, but because the rope was still attached, Munyoung was pulled back again. There it looks like he is going to hit him again using his fists strongly. However, when Han-jun was about to punch Munyoung with full force, Dong-yeon suddenly came and told him to stop. Dong-yeon knows that Han-jun is very angry with Munyoung, but here he also has something to settle with Munyoung. Just 5 minutes. Dong-yeon immediately intimidated Munyoung to quickly finish the previous fight. Seeing this, he was very angry and directly attacked strongly, but his blow was blocked. Munyoung attacked Dong-yeon brutally, but all of his attacks were still successfully blocked and avoided. At the same time, he immediately counterattacked with a punch right to his face. After giving the blow, Dong-yeon continued his attack by kicking Munyoung hard, making him unable to move anymore. Suddenly, Han-jun came and hit Munyoung. This made Dong-yeon annoyed because it hadn't been 5 minutes because he couldn't hold back anymore. Then they both agreed to attack Munyoung together and could see from his face that he was scared. Then they both managed to hit him so hard that he flew away. They both hit Munyoung alternately until finally he reached his limit. He couldn't stand it anymore and asked them both for forgiveness. Munyoung admitted defeat to the two of them and really asked for forgiveness, then promised not to do anything bad to them. Seeing Munyoung's ridiculous actions, Han-jun took the iron and gave it to Dong-yeon to use immediately, and Munyoung shouted loudly to be forgiven by both of them. Dan-yeon immediately used the iron on him until finally he cried loudly because he kept asking for forgiveness. Then in the end, Dan-yeon's iron hammer was smashed to the ground. Seeing Moon-yeon's sad-faced, Dan-yeon felt disgusted and immediately left him because he didn't want to be like him. But not for Han-jun. He chose to break Moon-yeon's leg so that he wouldn't do bad deeds again. On the other side, In-soo and Mongol were still balanced matched in the fight, then saw that Moon-yeon had lost, so they also admitted defeat today and immediately left. Seeing this, In-soo still doesn't seem to accept it, because his fight with Mongol isn't over yet. It was morning, the big fight was over, and now after getting rid of Moon-yeon, their target now was Kim Chi-In-soo.